401. Kratos vs. Beerus, Super Saiyan 4 transformation. Goku, standing nearby, stared curiously at the artificial moon hanging in the sky. Vegeta yanked him back. Idiot Kakarot, this isn't the time to transform. Don't stare at that fake moon or you'll trigger it, he snapped. Kakarot, always clueless about the finer points of Saiyan transformations. How had that other guy gone Super Saiyan before him? Unfair, Vegeta grumbled inwardly. Ah, sorry. Lord Beerus's key is over there. There's also a Saiyan's key, incredibly wild and powerful, Goku said. He hadn't been able to sense Beerus's key before, but ever since he learned Super Saiyan Blue, he could. That key over there is also Saiyan. He must have already gone Great Ape, and that Great Ape has Super Saiyan power. Axis, is this what you meant by the way to reach Super Saiyan 4? Vegeta asked. Axis nodded. No way. His own son was fighting Lord Beerus? He certainly had guts. That was the spirit of a Saiyan. When you meet a god of destruction, you charge straight at him. Kratos' trump card was the Golden Great Ape. In terms of Super Saiyan transformations, Kratos had already mastered Super Saiyan 3. Theoretically, he was very close to Super Saiyan 4. This might be the opportunity Axis had been waiting for. The one fighting is my son, Kratos, Axis said. Like your son, he's a half Saiyan. Oh, you have a son too? Great. I'll introduce him to my Gohan later. He looks pretty strong. Goku replied. His strength is solid. He can reach the Golden Great Ape, and his Super Saiyan level has hit Super Saiyan 3, Axis answered. Let's go take a closer look. We'll put our fight on hold for a bit, Vegeta said. He wanted to study the Golden Great Ape. Theoretically, the Golden Great Ape's power could push past Super Saiyan 3 and approach its limits. Perhaps not quite God level, but terrifyingly close. The three of them nodded in unison and flew toward the battle. On the battlefield, Kratos was seething with frustration. The Golden Great Ape swung wildly, but he couldn't land a single blow on the purple hairless cat that floated just out of reach. At the start of the fight, Kratos hadn't held back. Though he sometimes mocked opponents in words, in combat he fought seriously, something his grandfather had drilled into him. He'd even transformed into Super Saiyan 3 early on, but it had been pointless. The cat's speed and agility were extreme, almost invisible to the naked eye. Long as the fight had lasted, Kratos hadn't so much as grazed his enemy's clothes. Finally, desperate, Kratos unleashed his ultimate technique. He combined psychokinesis with his ki to create an artificial moon, then went straight into Golden Great Ape form. Even then, he couldn't touch the opponent, worse than in humanoid form. The ape's raw power was enormous, but the form slowed him down. Hey, kid, is that all you've got? I expected a surprise after that transformation. Still can't touch me? Lord Beerus said idly, floating and yawning. This boy's power was respectable. His physical durability and Super Saiyan power made him stronger than Goku had been when they'd first met. He was interesting. Unlike Goku, the boy could sense Beerus's god ki, even if faintly. Otherwise, he would have been felled immediately. Beerus reappeared behind the Golden Great Ape and kicked the back of its head, sending Kratos sprawling. Do you have a stronger transformation? Such a clumsy Great Ape can't beat me. The Golden Great Ape roared in fury, pounding his chest and glaring at Beerus. Vegeta and Goku watched, stunned. This Golden Great Ape looked fearsome. Did Saiyans really have this form? Calm down, Kratos, Axis said, floating beside them. Fight with composure. How did I teach you? When facing any enemy, you must stay calm and centered. Only then can you find their weakness. Don't let the Great Ape control you. Control it. Surpass your limits and become Super Saiyan 4. Otherwise, you can't match the one before you. Embrace the ape's primal power. The artificial moon had no effect on Axis, who had already reached Super Saiyan 4. In truth, the Great Ape was an imperfect expression of Super Saiyan 4's power. When one mastered SSJ4, one controlled the ape's power without relying on Blutz waves. Kratos had always thought he couldn't reach SSJ4 because his Golden Great Ape state stayed rational. He attributed that control to the Emperor's modifications, not to the same pressure that had forged Axis's mastery. But the ape still carried a surge of destructive madness. If it took over for too long, he'd lose himself. I understand, Father. I'll calm down, Kratos said, taking a deep breath and following Axis's guidance. He stopped resisting the ancient primal power inside him. He didn't try to suppress it with the rational brain core the Emperor had given him. Instead, he let it flow, lava through his veins, raw savagery capable of shaking stars, and he channeled his will into it. A low growl rose from deep in his chest, no longer panicked, but filled with majesty and resolve. The golden great ape's golden radiance began to fold in on itself, compressing. Goku and Vegeta held their breath. The chaotic primal energy was changing into something concentrated and dangerous, like Axis's own power. "It's beginning," Axis said with a proud smile. Beerus watched, stroked his chin. "Oh, this is getting interesting." Suddenly, Kratos' massive body shook. A blinding red-gold light exploded outward, then collapsed inward, reshaping itself. When the light faded, a new figure stood between heaven and earth. No longer a great ape, Kratos had reverted to humanoid form, but taller and far more muscular. A thick mane of black hair fell to his waist like a lion's. His bare torso was covered in red fur from shoulders to wrists, and his legs in the same red fur. A thick, red-furred tail swung behind him. His eyes glowed crimson, and the aura rolling off him was immense. Super Saiyan 4. Kratos had reached it. Kratos closed his eyes and felt the difference. SSJ-4 was wholly unlike SSJ-3. The gap was as stark as between a Super Saiyan and a regular Saiyan. He was so strong he could hardly believe it. Beerus's lazy purple eyes widened. Genuine surprise and interest replaced his earlier boredom. "Ho, amazing! What a transformation! This aura. It's almost godlike. Kid, what's your name?" "My name is Kratos, Lord Beerus," Kratos replied, respectful now but no longer mocking. "Now you can truly enjoy yourself. This is the ultimate form of a mortal Saiyan within a regional universe," Whis said from the side, impressed. "It's far stronger than a normal god if the god of destruction isn't using destructive ki." Beerus nodded, intrigued. This is Super Saiyan 4? Goku exclaimed in awe, his own Saiyan blood resonating at the raw power. Vegeta stared, burning with jealous desire. "This is the ancestral evolution that surpasses Super Saiyan 3. There's no mistake. This is how a Saiyan was meant to be. Primal and ferocious." "Father, I did it," Kratos said, nodding toward Axis. "Haha, he made it! As expected of my son. Go, Kratos. Give that purple cat a proper beating." Axis beamed, pride written all over his face. Beerus's mouth twitched. "You call me a hairless cat, and you call me Kitty, you insolent father and son. I will make you remember the might of a god of destruction." "That's fantastic! Kratos, show Lord Beerus what you've got," Goku shouted, thrilled. If his Gohan had this kind of spirit, before anyone finished their sentence, Kratos vanished. So fast! Vegeta's pupils narrowed. Kratos' speed had exploded, faster than Super Saiyan Blue. Beerus's eyes flashed with amusement. He shifted ever so slightly. Bang! A furred fist, wreathed in dark red ki, struck empty air, missing by inches but tearing the sky itself. The punch was so violent it left a visible shockwave that sliced the distance. "Good speed," Beerus observed. He moved again, lightning quick, chopping at Kratos' wrist. Kratos' strikes blurred into afterimages as he attacked, but Beerus caught each punch with effortless precision. A thick red tail lashed through the air like a steel whip, slicing toward Beerus's waist and abdomen. A vicious, tactical strike making use of the tail's advantage. "Using your tail too? Interesting," Beerus murmured. He flickered like a phantom, narrowly avoiding the tail, while a sudden kick appeared before Kratos' chest as if teleported. Boom! Kratos crossed his arms to block. His red ki surged. The impact shoved him back hundreds of meters, but he roared and charged straight back in. Boom, boom, boom. Their blows thundered across the sky. Explosions fell like rain. The planet's atmosphere trembled. The sky itself began to crack under the force. This intensity rivaled Goku's earlier clash with Beerus as a Super Saiyan god, but Kratos had no external aid. Beerus, for his part, was thoroughly enjoying the fight. 402. Kratos was defeated. The god of destruction used 80% of his power. Amazing! Unbelievable! This kid is actually holding his own against Lord Beerus. Kakarot watched, blood burning with excitement, itching to jump into the fight himself. Vegeta clutched his fists, eyes full of complicated feelings. Power, speed, both have reached a whole new level. Is this Super Saiyan 4? Can it really temporarily stand toe-to-toe with a god of destruction? The shock in him was enormous, and at the same time a fierce rivalry flared up, an urge to get stronger. Axis watched his son's fight with quiet satisfaction. "Well done, Kratos. This is Super Saiyan 4, the primeval power of our Saiyan blood. Use your fists to taste a god of destruction's realm. Enjoy the fight." In the center of the battlefield, Lord Beerus parried a powerful downward kick from Kratos and felt a twinge of numbness in his arm. His interest deepened. "Good, very good. Kid, your name is Kratos, right? Time to stop warming up." The purple aura around Beerus flared. He increased his speed in an instant. Kratos saw only a blur and then a searing pain in his abdomen as his body was flung out of control, slamming into a distant mountain and causing it to collapse. "Come out, kid. That kind of damage shouldn't take you down," Beerus said, beckoning toward the shattered peak. With a thunderous roar, Kratos shot up from the wreckage, sending rock and dust flying. The golden red energy around him didn't dim, it flared even hotter. "It's not over," he bellowed, vanishing again. This time his speed and power were even more focused. Each punch carried unimaginable force, and his thick tail, used like a deadly javelin, combined with his fists and feet to weave an unrelenting storm of attacks around Lord Beerus. Kratos actually used his tail as a weapon. Axis raised an eyebrow. Most Saiyans keep their tails coiled at the waist as a relic, but the tail's power was indeed considerable. Boom, boom, boom. The sky ruptured as the two blurred into near invisibility. Onlookers from the Dragon Ball world had gathered. Gohan, Trunks, and Goten, a certain galactic patrolman, Bulma, Tien, Krillin, Master Roshi, and even King Piccolo. King Piccolo arrived first beside Kakarot and Vegeta and shot a wary glance at Axis. "Old man, what's going on? Weren't you dealing with Frieza? Who's that Saiyan fighting the god of destruction?" "Piccolo, this is Axis," Kakarot said, briefly introducing his father. "He's a Saiyan and very powerful. The one fighting Beerus is his son, Kratos." Axis gave a brief nod, but kept his gaze fixed on the fight. His concern was for his son. Piccolo, ever observant, noticed something else. They look different. Their transformations aren't the same. Red fur, more primal, and their bodies bulked up. This is something beyond Super Saiyan 3. "That's Super Saiyan 4, Kakarot answered. "I've never seen it before either. It's the Saiyan's primal power pushed to the limit. Compared to Super Blue, it feels more raw and oppressive." "Don't get distracted, Kakarot. Focus on the battle," Vegeta snapped, though he couldn't hide how fascinated he was. As the Saiyan Prince, he could sense the potency in Super Saiyan 4. It was a peak evolution of Saiyan power. Axis added, "It isn't straightforward to say one form is definitively better. My Super Blue, my Super Saiyan God state, taps into the path of the gods and is stronger in principle, but Super Saiyan 4 exerts a terrifying mortal power." Kakarot's eyes lit up. "So could we combine Super Saiyan God with Super Saiyan 4? "Theoretically, yes," Axis said, "but it's difficult in practice. First, you must master Super Saiyan 4. Vegeta probably won't struggle, but the main challenge will be you, Kakarot." I'll master Super Saiyan 4 soon enough. I'll be ahead of you," Vegeta said with a confident grin. Watching Kratos' transformation and a furious fight with Beerus after his near-death revival had convinced him he could push his own power higher. He even felt his Super Blue might be capable of further evolution. "Same here," Kakarot murmured. "I won't fall behind." The battle shifted again. Kratos and Beerus clashed with such intensity they shot into outer space. On Earth, the two had become invisible, so everyone immediately flew up to watch. The fighting hit a fever pitch, and Kratos began to falter. The power a god of destruction wielded was beyond anything mortal could fathom. Even without using his full divine energy, Beerus' strength surpassed mortals by an order of magnitude. A heavy elbow and a sidekick shook Kratos' body, his consciousness blurred. Seeing his father watching from a distance, rage and pride surged back into Kratos. He would not disappoint Axis. If the power he's showing now had been used against Horus during the Great Heresy, Kratos thought, Horus would have been crushed many times over. Yet in front of this hairless cat, he was being utterly dominated. "Roar!" Kratos unleashed a furious scream. Saiyan blood boiled, and Super Saiyan 4 surged to its limits. The red fur on his upper body seemed to ignite. Dark red energy flared, trying to break Beerus' suppression. "Still resisting?" Beerus said, eyes flashing. He respected the spirit, but divine authority could not be challenged. His foot moved, and the single strike splintered into countless purple leg shadows. The blows rained down like a monsoon. Dozens of strikes in the span of a breath, each precise, heavy, and capable of shattering stars. Kratos' block gave out. Blood sprayed from his mouth. His defenses were obliterated, and his consciousness finally slipped away. He drifted unmoving in the vacuum of space. Axis sped to his son and supported him, placing a palm on Kratos' back and pouring life energy through him. Though knocked unconscious, Kratos' injuries weren't catastrophic. Beerus had held back. The god of destruction stopped and regarded the fallen Saiyan with appreciation. This was just a warm-up. Not bad, Beerus said, as if stretching after exercise. There was excitement in his eyes. The kid had spirit. With proper training, if Whis took him under his wing, he could go far. And the boy had proved much tougher than that other brash Saiyan, Kakarot. Under Axis's healing, Kratos came to. He spat out blood and struggled upright, a painful grin forming despite the ache. That hairless cat is insanely strong, but that was incredible, Father. Is this what a god's power is like? I saw it. Maybe it's far off, but I saw it. Good, Axis said, pulling him up. Remember this feeling. Today's defeat is the seed for tomorrow's strength. Kakarot flew up to Beerus without hesitation. How much power did you use against Kratos just now? Beerus chuckled, proud. About 80%. That kid is stronger than you were. When you first became a Super Saiyan god, I used only 70% and beat you to a pulp. Kakarot smiled fiercely. I'll master Super Saiyan 4 too. Then we'll spar again. 4 and 3. Beat Devil? No, I want to beat Gogeta. On the other side, Vegeta could no longer hide the longing in his eyes. He suddenly flew in front of Axis, gaze burning with fierce desire, his voice more earnest than ever, even edged with a plea. Axis, teach me how to become Super Saiyan 4. Haven't I already shown you the method? And with an artificial moon and all that, don't pester me. Go down and try to transform, Axis said, shaking his head in mild exasperation. So annoying. Now should he fight Goku and Vegeta, or the god of destruction? I understand, so Kakarot and I aren't even worth your attention, Vegeta snapped. Vegeta, as a proud Saiyan, could read Axis's thoughts from his expression. A moment ago, Axis had regarded them as opponents. Now, seeing the god of destruction, his focus shifted immediately. Goku flew over and urged, Vegeta, let's wait a bit. If Axis is going to fight Lord Beerus, I want to see it before we leave. They could train into Super Saiyan 4 anytime. After all, their tails had already regrown, but a fight between Axis and Beerus was a rare spectacle. You brat, you want to fight me too? Lord Beerus asked Axis as he sized him up. Axis was indeed a formidable opponent. Beerus could tell Axis was no ordinary Saiyan. He'd cultivated himself up to a godlike level and effectively become a Saiyan god in his own right. This wasn't the same as the Super Saiyan god transformation Goku and Vegeta had used. Axis's power felt higher, more complete. Even Vegeta's Super Blue owed a little to Whis' secret help. Compared to Beerus, they were still far below. Don't get me wrong, I do want to fight you, but not now. Fighting you this moment would be pointless. To everyone's surprise, Axis shook his head. Though a match against Beerus would be exciting, it wasn't the right time. Axis wanted an evenly matched opponent to test and integrate divine power with Super Saiyan power, not someone clearly stronger than himself. He looked instead at Goku and Vegeta. Those two brats, even teamed up now, they're not on your level. There's no contest, Beerus said, confused and a little piqued that Axis would refuse him. Oh my, Lord Beerus, it seems his target isn't you, at least not yet, Whis commented. There were ranks even among gods. Beerus was one of the stronger gods of destruction. Only a few could rival him. Axis didn't want to fight Beerus now because Beerus was top tier even among the gods of destruction. In the Dragon Ball Super Tournament of the Gods, Beerus and the Mouse God had been the ones left standing, evidence of just how powerful Beerus was. Suit yourself. I was just stretching a bit anyway. Time to sleep. Beerus snorted, turned his back, and strode away. Whis, he said, and with a wave of his staff, the two were gone. Gosh, what a pity. Your fight with me and Vegeta could have been saved for later. Goku called after Axis with visible regret. He was disappointed he wouldn't see Axis battle Beerus, but the chance to finally work on Super Saiyan 4 and later to combine SS4 with Super Blue had him excited. Axis smiled slightly. I have high hopes for you two. One-on-one or together, you still aren't a match for me. Even if you became Super Saiyan 4 and combined it with Super Blue, it wouldn't be enough. But there's a way. You two have a technique called fusion. It can merge two warriors into one and multiply your strength far beyond a simple addition. more like a geometric leap. I want you to use that technique and fight me. Axis was different from the Broly of the Dragon Ball Super universe. That Broly relied heavily on the Great Ape's power and was built around that rampage. Axis's own strength and form were distinct. His current power already surpassed that version of Broly. The legendary Super Saiyan transformation, at its early stage, was roughly the equivalent of a regular Super Saiyan pushing into Super Saiyan 2 levels. Axis in his present Super Saiyan state could have handled the earlier Goku and Vegeta easily. But after their near-death revivals, Goku and Vegeta's power rose dramatically. They could now rival Axis's Super Saiyan 3. Even so, Super Saiyan 4 was on an entirely different plane. Even if they achieved a legendary-style SS4, it still wouldn't match the power of Super Saiyan God or Super Blue. And how long it would take them to fuse both powers was uncertain. That made the fused form, Gogeta, the ideal opponent. Gogeta's fused power was immense. In past battles, even Gogeta in a normal Super Saiyan state had been enough to contend with Broly's unleashed might, and when Gogeta ascended to Super Blue, the difference in scale was staggering. That fusion technique exists, yes. So you're saying you want Vegeta and me to fuse and fight you? Goku nodded. If we fuse, our power will skyrocket. It's doable. The only downside was the 30-minute time limit for the dance fusion. Potara earrings would extend things, but maintaining Super Blue would drain the fused warrior quickly. Humph. I'm not fusing with that Kakarot, Vegeta snorted. You two owe me, Axis said bluntly. I guided you through that last fight and even used precious spirit tree fruit to revive you from near death and make you stronger. Repaying me shouldn't be a problem, right? Of course, Goku said cheerfully. Vegeta, don't be stubborn. Let's fuse. You can try making Gogeta. Vegeta can control the Great Ape. He can look at that artificial moon, go into Golden Great Ape, then transition into Super Saiyan 4. That will help you both, and I'll have a better fight, Axis suggested. Training them individually had been slow. If Gogeta could reach SS4 and then Super Blue, Axis could get a proper match. Vegeta gritted his teeth but couldn't deny Axis's point. He did owe Axis a great debt. Understood, but we'll use the Potara. I refuse that dance. It's degrading, Vegeta growled. He'd rather avoid the ritualized movements with Kakarot. Potara earrings were more dignified. Fine, Goku said, ready to instant transmission to the World King's planet to get the earrings. Axis, however, stopped him. Potara is powerful, but right now I want Gogeta. Vegito can wait, he insisted. For Axis, Gogeta, born of the fusion dance, was the legendary ceiling of Dragon Ball power. In Dragon Ball GT, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta had been terrifyingly dominant against Omega Shenron, playing with him like a god. Gogeta had a reputation for overwhelming opponents without being caught off guard. Axis also had another motive. He wanted to take advantage of the fusion dance itself. He had considered trying the technique before, maybe having the life goddess test it, but he hadn't been certain it would work. Now, with the real ritual and the true dancers before him, he was determined to freeload the fusion dance, to ride the Gogeta experiment and see what that form could do. Vegeta's face was a study in fury, a vein throbbing at his temple. Dance those ridiculous steps? Get all up close and personal with Kakarot? Just picturing it felt like an affront to the Saiyan Prince's dignity. Why couldn't they use the Potara? He wanted the Potara, anything but that humiliating dance. Absolutely not. I'd rather die than do something that's stupid, Vegeta practically roared. You won't get away with this. Oh, Vegeta, don't be so dramatic. What's a little embarrassment for a proper fight? Goku scratched the back of his head, genuinely puzzled by Vegeta's resistance. The fusion dance would skyrocket their power. It was convenient. Why refuse? Axis folded his arms and smiled with mischievous satisfaction. Sk. So the Saiyan Prince values his pride more than getting stronger? Vegito is very powerful, but that calm, rational style after a perfect fusion always feels too neat. He sighed theatrically. I much prefer the kind of Gogeta who keeps a bit of Vegeta's wildness, but if Vegeta won't do it, Kakarot, use the Potara. Vegeta choked on Axis's words. The man was deliberately baiting him, and he had struck a nerve. He hated the idea of becoming that perfect fusion. Vegito's composed, almost clinical fighting style felt like an insult to the fighting fire in his bones. Gogeta, wild and arrogant, fit them better. Still, Axis's jab had done its work. Vegeta snapped. Enough! Vegeta cut Axis off. He ground out the next words as if making an enormous sacrifice. Kakarot, hurry up, I'll do it. Only once. And that's it. No second time. Goku blinked, then broke into a grin. You agreed? Great. Shut up. Let's start now, Vegeta barked, flushing red. Don't rush, Goku said. You have to do it exactly right. If you mess it up, we'll lose power instead of gaining it. Piccolo nodded from the sidelines. This was no place for goofing off, and Axis hid a grin. He wanted to watch the show. Goku patiently explained the key points of the fusion dance to Vegeta. Then, with Piccolo watching, they demonstrated it as he had when teaching Goten and Trunks. No mistakes, Goku warned. If you're off even a little... Yeah, I know, Kakarot. Let's get it over with. Vegeta snapped. They stepped back, faced each other, and forced their pride aside. Vegeta clenched his jaw and mimicked the dance moves, awkward and tense, while Goku moved with easy enthusiasm. Every flourish and hip twist felt like an indignity to Vegeta's pride. With each step, he muttered curses under his breath at the dance, at Axis, and at Goku. Fshin! Vegeta and Goku cried in unison, extending index fingers. Light flared, but the light that bloomed was wrong. It sputtered and dimmed as if coming from a faltering bulb. When it cleared, the air felt oddly thick. Axis covered his mouth, shoulders shaking with barely contained laughter. Kratos stared as if he'd seen a ghost. Standing where a powerful fusion should have been was a lanky, emaciated figure, tall but paper-thin. The orange and black GI hung off him like a tent. His face was gaunt, cheekbones sharp, hair plastered and thinning. He looked exhausted just to breathe, his eyes hollow with fatigue. Failed, Piccolo said bluntly. Vegeta, your finger was off. Vegeta swore under his breath. The failure was obvious. If the fusion dance was botched, the result could be anything. They would have to wait 30 minutes for the fusion to wear off. When they unfused, Goku complained and Vegeta scowled, but after a short rest, they tried again. This time, the light burst into being properly, but the result was the opposite of the first, a squat, rotund fusion. The orange gi strained across a ballooned midsection, cheeks puffed, hair messy and sparse. He blinked down at his own belly, hefted a hand to his face, and said in Goku's absent-minded voice, Huh? Did we succeed? He tried to bounce and nearly toppled over, wobbling like a living punching bag. A bit better, Axis allowed. The skinny one had almost no combat power, but the fat one, his durability is high. That kind of mass absorbs impacts well. Kratos whispered to his father, I think this fusion dance is unreliable. The two ridiculous incarnations had punctured whatever expectations he had of fusion. Third time's the charm, Axis said with a confident shrug. They'll get it right. They rested 30 minutes and listened to Piccolo's critique again, then took the dance with mechanical precision. Every move was perfect. Fingers poised, they extended their index fingers. Light exploded this time. It was blinding, a storm of energy that combined Goku's pure fighting joy with Vegeta's furious pride and twisted them into a single domineering presence. When the light faded, a figure hovered in the air. Tall, powerfully built, perfectly proportioned. Gogeta. He carried Goku's generosity and Vegeta's arrogance in equal measure, a head of golden hair flaring upward with a few bangs falling across his brow. His eyes were razor-sharp, his mouth a cocky smirk. He wore the orange and black jai, and a tail swung casually behind him. Humph, Gogeta said, voice a magnetic blend of Goku and Vegeta. Seems we succeeded. Sorry to keep you waiting. This feeling, it's been a while. The process was unpleasant, but this power, exhilarating. He cocked his head, sizing up Axis. So you're the one who asked to meet the fusion warrior Gogeta, the legendary Super Saiyan? Axis's gaze gleamed. Yes, but first, finish your Super Saiyan 4 transformation and try to fuse that power into a Super Saiyan god. After fusion, your aptitude will be higher than either of you alone. You'll learn fast. Gogeta only snorted. He had none of Vegeto's restraint. Recklessness and contempt were written into his posture. You want me to go all out? Fine. See if you can make me transform. Axis took that as a challenge. He didn't hesitate. He surged into legendary Super Saiyan 4, grabbed Gogeta by the throat, and before Gogeta could react, they shot into space. Caught unprepared, Gogeta hit his own transformations hard. First a standard Super Saiyan flare, then Super Blue, but even that wasn't an immediate match. The two traded blows, each strike a shockwave across the void. Gogeta's competitive instinct and raw talent showed. At first, legendary Super Saiyan 4 dominated, but as the battle continued, Gogeta began to hold his own. For a moment, Axis's grin faded, then he grinned wider. "You're reckless. You don't respect your opponent," Axis said as he pressed the attack. "I'll teach you how weak that makes you." He burned his aura hotter, mixing the Super Saiyan fire with a riot of colors, gold, green, red, and blue, until he became something else entirely, the four-color light warrior. The combined auras roared outward. Gogeta in Super Blue couldn't stand against that. Axis's power leapt beyond anything Gogeta had faced, and for 30 straight minutes he used Gogeta as a training dummy, hammering him relentlessly. Even a warrior as gifted as Gogeta began to falter under the unrelenting onslaught. When the fusion finally wore off, Axis let Goku and Vegeta crumple to the ground like broken men and dragged them back, breathing heavily but triumphant. 405, Mastering Super Saiyan 4, Goku and Vegeta. Damn it, how could this happen? Why is the power gap so huge? Vegeta, lying on the ground, lifted his head slowly and glared at Axis. He sounded annoyed and helpless. It was a brutal reality. The two sides were not even close. They had thought the gap had narrowed, but when Axis revealed that four-color transformation, Gogeta was outclassed. So powerful. That four-color transformation. You combined the powers of the legendary Super Saiyan 4, and Super Saiyan God, and then unleashed it. Goku raised his head and asked Axis as well. Even though he and Vegeta were fused, their two consciousnesses had merged and clearly perceived the battle. They had watched how Axis fought. "I can only say that the guy you made when you fused has incredible talent and potential, but his personality, it's a disaster," Axis said. "I told him to learn Super Saiyan 4 first, to master it in transformed state, and only then come fight me. He wouldn't listen and insisted on fighting immediately. To be honest, even in Super Saiyan 4 I could beat Gogeta. Why? Gogeta's fusion lasts only 30 minutes. In 30 minutes he can't beat me. If he can hang on 30 minutes under my hands, that's already lucky." The truth stung. Still, Axis admitted one thing. Gogeta's potential was outrageously strong. If such a being could exist indefinitely without the limits of fusion, he'd be the strongest Saiyan. But he was a product of fusion, a miracle born of Kakarot and Vegeta merged into one. "Honestly, I think Gogeta's arrogance comes partly from you, Vegeta," Great Demon King Piccolo, who'd been watching from the side, commented. If Axis hadn't held back, the two of them would have been finished even faster. Goku's personality was humble by nature. Vegeta was the one born proud. "Humph, give us another spirit tree fruit. I'm trying Super Saiyan 4 first," Vegeta growled. Gogeta's comprehension was strong, but Vegeta thought mastering Super Saiyan 4 himself would help post-fusion transformations. "Good idea," Goku said. "I also want to practice combining Super Saiyan 4, Super Saiyan God, and regular Super Saiyan, and then try Kaioken. As Gogeta, we can use Kaioken, but it strains the body and fusion only lasts 30 minutes. It would shorten the time even more. Still, if it helps us beat Axis, it's worth it." Axis nodded. "Rest for a bit. I'll give you spirit tree fruit. You've both already had a near-death revival once today. Don't disappoint me." He produced 2 second-generation spirit tree fruits and handed them to Goku and Vegeta. This was their second near-death revival in a single day. Only Axis had the nerve to push them this far, squeeze out every bit of potential. After a Saiyan experiences a near-death revival, their power increases horribly if they had fought themselves to the limit first. Axis had never used that passive ability before. He wanted to see it in action. If it had been any other boss, they'd already be dust. Without another word, Goku and Vegeta bit into the fruits. Terrifying life energy flowed through them again, healing wounds and restoring stamina. "I'm good as new. Come on, Kakarot, let's go learn Super Saiyan 4 and deal with this guy," Vegeta said, rising to his feet. "Wait, Vegeta. Master 5 taught me this. Balancing work and rest is important. We've already fought a lot, and this near-death boost gives us a large power jump, but new power only truly becomes yours through training. We should master Super Saiyan 4, then train a bit before taking Axis on," Goku replied. "A sudden surge of strength is great for battle, but it needs time and practice to be controlled, just like when he first learned legendary Super Saiyan. Super Saiyan 4 would be the same. They needed time to learn to blend Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 4, Super Saiyan God, and regular Super Saiyan into something like Axis's state. Only then would they have a real chance. Axis smiled faintly. As expected of the Dragon Ball world's protagonists, Goku's idea made sense and would maximize their potential. It was the right path for them to defeat him. Vegeta nodded, stretched, and flew to the ground. He inhaled deeply and looked up at the artificial moon. The Blutz waves struck his eyes. Roar! Vegeta's roar tore through the air. His body swelled and shifted. Golden Ki flared upward and engulfed him. Seconds later, a massive golden great ape appeared, muscular, covered in brilliant gold fur. But in those eyes there was no madness. Vegeta's rationality remained. Years ago, he had mastered great ape control. Now, even transformed into a golden great ape, he held perfect control. Control it, transcend it. This is the true form of a Saiyan. Vegeta's consciousness was clear even in the beast's body. The brilliant light on the golden great ape converged inward and compressed. The body shrank rapidly and a deep primal ferocity surged. When the light faded, a new figure stood on the ground. Vegeta, taller and more muscular than before, black hair like a mane flowing to his waist, his torso covered in vivid red fur from shoulders to wrists, powerful legs also furred, a thick red tail swaying behind him, crimson markings around sharp eyes. He had become Super Saiyan 4. Easy, Vegeta said, clenched fist covered in red fur, feeling the torrent of primal power within him and allowing a small, satisfied smile. Wow, Vegeta, you're fast. You did it on the first try. Goku watched, eyes bright with eager anticipation. Your turn, Kakarot. Don't drag it out, Vegeta floated with his arms crossed. He wanted to see if the low-class warrior could control this power as precisely as he could. All right, watch me. Goku breathed deep and looked up at the artificial moon. Roar! An even wilder roar exploded. Goku became a golden great ape too, massive and wrapped in golden fur. But unlike Vegeta's, this ape's eyes were filled with madness and chaotic, destructive urges. Goku had suffered amnesia from a childhood head injury and had never been trained to control his great ape form. The wild savagery buried in his bloodline assaulted his rational mind. Oh no, Goku can't control it. Piccolo's face went pale. Dad, wake up! It's me, Gohan. Gohan shouted, desperate to reach his father. Roar! The golden great ape's attention snapped to Gohan, its crimson eyes fixed on him, and a massive hand came crashing down. Gohan, look out! Piccolo! Get him out of the way. Piccolo lunged in front of Gohan and pulled the boy to safety. Kakarot, you idiot! Can't you even control this power? Think about what I taught you. Vegeta shouted. Goku, are you letting yourself be ruled by the beast? Snap out of it! Piccolo bellowed. The great ape gave a low, struggling roar. Its massive body trembled, fighting the destructive impulse. Goku seemed to hear the calls of his friends and son. With a long howl to the sky, the ape's surging golden ki began to converge and compress, just like Vegeta's had. But the process was harder for him. The golden light flickered, battling between wildness and cohesion. A dark red light suddenly burst from the struggling ape, swallowing the golden glow. The great ape shrank rapidly as light vanished, and when it cleared, Goku stood there, stronger and taller than Vegeta's Super Saiyan 4, covered in vivid red fur with thick black hair flowing, a powerful red tail, crimson eye markings. He had managed it. Hoo-hoo, Vegeta, I did it too! Goku pumped a fist, feeling the primal surge of power. Super Saiyan 4 Goku had successfully transformed, though it had been a harder fight for him to control the beast within. 406. Target Super Dragon, Cosmic Divine Tree. Vegeta watched Son Goku, who had just completed his transformation. He said nothing aloud, but a flicker of approval passed through his eyes. Kakarot always manages to pull out incredible willpower at the crucial moment. He really is my lifelong rival, Kakarot. At least you didn't make a fool of yourself, Vegeta muttered. Piccolo snorted, but there was relief in his expression as well. That's great, Dad! Son Gohan shouted happily. Axis nodded in satisfaction as he looked at their successful transformations. It hadn't been in vain to push them to the brink of death and bring them back twice. After attaining Super Saiyan Blue, their power had reached the limits of ordinary Super Saiyan forms, and they already had enough strength to access Super Saiyan 4. Under Axis's provocation, and after seeing Kratos attain Super Saiyan 4 earlier, both Goku and Vegeta managed to master the form too. Super Saiyan 4 is primitive, wild, and raw, Vegeta said. It doesn't have any godly key, but it's the Saiyan's most feral power, maybe even the original Saiyan form. Vegeta, once we get back, we should try to overlay Super Saiyan Blue on top of this form, Goku said. I think we can pull it off. Their recent fight with Axis, the four colored lights he'd displayed, the fusion of godly and Super Saiyan power, had shaken them up and given them new insights. There was no rush to continue the fight. Now was the time to digest and train. Axis stepped forward. I'll give you half a month. I expect you to master this form and layer Super Saiyan Blue onto it. Can you do it? Having just fought Gogeta, Axis had gained a lot from the encounter. Gogeta had forced him to use a multi-power fusion, something new. Though Axis had been defeated, he had learned much. This was Dragon Ball World. There were many resources and opportunities to be had, and Axis intended to take advantage of them. No problem, Axis, Goku said. I promise we'll train hard. Goku hated that he'd needed a fusion to stand toe-to-toe with Axis. He wanted to defeat Axis using his own strength. Bloodlines or differences meant nothing to him. He only moved forward toward his goal. Good. I'll be looking forward to it. Do you two, father and son, have a place to stay? Vegeta asked from the side. If not, you can stay at my house. It's big enough. Axis's power was intimidating, but what Vegeta really valued wasn't Axis so much as Kratos. Axis might be stronger than Vegeta now, but Kratos, who had also just awakened Super Saiyan 4, would be a valuable sparring partner. You can stay at my place too, Goku added. We can trade training notes. No need, Axis replied. Kratos and I plan to travel for a while. By the way, can I borrow your Dragon Radar before we leave? I want to collect some Dragon Balls. Since Axis had arrived in the Dragon Ball world, of course he wanted to take advantage of its treasures. The Dragon Balls were especially important. There were many things he could wish for, like Spirit Tree fruit. He had planted a God Tree before, and already used up all of the first-generation Spirit Tree fruit. He wanted to replenish them. He also wanted to see whether he could gain the power to create Dragon Balls, or even something like the Universe Tree. You want the Dragon Radar? Fine, Goku said. But the Earth Dragon Balls were used recently and need about half a year to recover. When Frieza had been revived, a wish had been used, and then Pilaf and his gang used 2 wishes. That meant it would take roughly 8 months for the Earth Dragon Balls to become usable again. Axis frowned. He'd forgotten about that restriction. In Dragon Ball stories, they often seemed to use the Dragon Balls immediately after a big fight, but the cooldown was real. If your wish isn't urgent, you can wait 8 months, Goku said. Axis rolled his eyes. If he stayed 8 months, the Tournament of Power would probably already be on. Goku might even pressure him to participate. Wait, the Tournament of Power. That could be an opportunity. Axis didn't care much who his opponents would be or which universe might be erased. What mattered was the prize, the wish granted by Super Shenron, which could fulfill almost any desire, even restoring the 7 universes erased by the Omni King. In newer storylines, a universe tree that could create universes had appeared. If he could wish for something like that, he could become a true god presiding over multiple universes. But there was a problem. After the Tournament of Power, the wish that would be chosen by the Omni King and the Grand Priest might be to revive the 7 erased universes. And if the Wishmaker didn't make that wish, the Omni King might erase everything. Axis wasn't sure he could escape getting caught up in that, or whether he'd be able to return to his own Warhammer universe. Plus, if people from the Dragon Ball world could come to his universe, the Warhammer universe wouldn't be completely safe either. Still, Axis realized there were other routes to the Super Shenron. Lord Champa and his angel Vados had been collecting Super Dragon Balls, and there would be competitions among the gods of destruction where the winner could earn the right to make a wish on Super Shenron. Axis could ask Lord Beerus directly for a chance, or participate in those contests, so he wouldn't have to risk offending the Omni King and the Grand Priest. After thinking it over, he decided he would stay in the Dragon Ball world a while, take part in the Gods of Destruction's competitions, and try to win a wish on Super Shenron to obtain the Universe Tree. Kakarot, you idiot, did you forget about the Namekian Dragon Balls? Vegeta snorted. If Axis needs Dragon Balls, you could take him to planet Namek. The Namekian ones are even stronger than Earth's now. Oh, right, I forgot about that, Goku exclaimed. Axis, I'll take you to planet Namek. There are Dragon Balls there too. Then please, Axis said, take me to planet Namek. Axis recalled that the Granola saga had mentioned a 2-star Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball Daima had hinted at Dragon Balls in the Demon Realm. In any case, the most reliable sets were still the Earth and Namekian Balls, or in certain timelines, the Black Star Dragon Balls. Wait a second, you're Axis, right? I want to know what you intend to wish for on Namek. If it's something evil, I won't let the Namekians help you, Piccolo interjected as Goku was about to leave. The Namekians and Goku were close allies, and Piccolo didn't trust Axis yet, despite his help saving Earth. I'm only after the spirit tree fruit I gave to Goku and the others before, Axis said, and a few special treasures. I'm not going to use the Dragon Balls for anything bad. There's no need. See, Piccolo, he said he only wants a few things, Goku replied. Piccolo snorted. Fine, I won't argue. He turned and flew off. Goku smiled, placed a hand on Axis's shoulder, and sensed the Elder of New Namek's key. With that, he activated instant transmission and brought Axis and Kratos to new planet Namek. The instant transmission Son Goku used and the teleportation Axis knew were fundamentally different. Axis's version was theoretical, a warp-based technique developed by the life goddess Aisha. Without the warp, it would be nearly useless. Son Goku's instant transmission, by contrast, only required him to sense a being's ki. With that, he could teleport anywhere in the universe instantly. It didn't work well in the Warhammer universe, though, because so few beings there manifested ki. Axis could only instantly reach locations near the life goddess Aisha, a handful of cultivators, or his son. In practice, Aisha's warp-driven method was more useful in that setting. When Son Goku used instant transmission, Axis watched with widened eyes. He observed every detail, using his God of Chi sense to capture the method. He wanted to learn Kakarot's technique. The principle was simple enough, so simple that someone like Cell could mimic it after a single observation. And for Axis, who already wielded godlike power, picking it up took little effort. After one demonstration, he had the idea clearly formed in his mind. The technique still had limits. You had to sense another's ki, and the stronger the ki, the clearer the signal. Without a strong ki signature, you could end up somewhere unpredictable. If the ki was too faint, it couldn't be sensed at all. During the Frieza saga, Son Goku had relied on the World King God to detect the people on Namek. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to locate them. Son Goku's arrival was unremarkable in spectacle, a soft whoosh and a flash, and then he was on Namek. Around them rose the domed homes and villages of the green-skinned, antennaed Namekians. They were a unique people. No distinct genders, a strange reproductive process in which an adult forms an egg internally and then spits it out to hatch a new individual, and the ability, sometimes, to influence what hatches from those eggs. Powerful Namekians could even produce mutated offspring, as Demon King Piccolo had once done. They could regenerate astonishingly, regrow limbs, alter their size wildly, and perform life fusion, one individual merging their entire self into another without losing their consciousness. In the TV continuity, Piccolo fused with Nail on Namek and later with Kami, gaining great power. The Namekians' most remarkable gift, however, was their ability to create Dragon Balls. In extended lore, they were tied to the dragon god Zalama. Scraps left behind when the Super Dragon Balls were forged allowed the Namekians to create their own wonder-working orbs. Long time no see, Son Goku. Why have you come? A Namekian called. It's Kakarot, another said. Welcome. 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 A warm chorus met them. Son Goku's reputation among the Namekians was enormous. Axis stood beside him as the villagers approached with open, friendly faces. Yo, long time no see, everyone. Son Goku waved, and the crowd shepherded him and Axis toward a large dwelling. Inside lived the Grand Elder of Namek, the guardian of their Dragon Balls. Long time no see, Son Goku. Have you come to Namek asking for our help again? The Grand Elder asked politely once they entered. Son Goku spoke plainly, as always. Grand Elder, I have. This is my friend Axis. He'd like to use the Dragon Balls to make a few wishes. The Grand Elder walked over to Axis, frowning slightly as he took in the newcomer. Namekians had peculiar psychic sensitivity. They could sense how many lives someone had taken and judge their moral weight. Son Goku's aura was bright and good. He had killed very few in his life, and had saved many planets. For that reason, the Namekians adored him. Axis's key read as middling. The Grand Elder sensed Axis had killed many, but most of those were clearly wicked beings. Orcs, Tyranids, Chaos Demons, the sorts of enemies who had no claim to mercy. Kratos, who stood nearby, read differently. The old warrior radiated a heavy, cruel aura. He had slaughtered countless innocents during the Emperor's Great Crusade and showed no mercy to non-human races. That kind of killing could not be entrusted with the Dragon Balls. "Mr. Axis," the Grand Elder said after a moment, "what do you intend to wish for? If you are the one to use them, I can lend them. But for the gentleman beside you, I'm sorry. I cannot entrust him with the Dragon Balls." "It will be me who uses them," Axis answered. "Kratos will not. I only want a few precious items, things like the spirit tree fruit." He produced a first-generation specimen as proof. The Grand Elder nodded and called for warriors to fetch the scattered orbs. Namek kept one star Dragon Ball nearby with the Grand Elder, but the others were distributed among the villages. Their people loved peace and rarely used supernatural powers, so they'd hidden the Dragon Balls away. Still, in light of Son Goku's standing and Axis's declared purpose, the Elder agreed to help. "Really? Thank you, Grand Elder." Axis inclined his head. "Please wait a moment." The Grand Elder replied, "I'll have the other villages bring the Dragon Balls." Outside, Axis gave Kratos a brief reprimand. "When you fight orcs, Tyranids, or Chaos, don't hold back. But don't apply that same human supremacy mindset indiscriminately. There are other races in the galaxy that don't deserve to be slaughtered for sport." Kratos said nothing. In many parts of the Warhammer universe, killing was commonplace. Axis's and Kratos's auras might have been dark, but compared to the worst in that cosmos, they were only middling. Soon the 7 Dragon Balls were reunited. The Grand Elder stepped forward and intoned the ancient Namekian chant. The sky darkened as the spheres flared with golden light and shot upward. Lightning braided across the heavens. With a colossal roar of energy, the light condensed into physical form. A dragon the size of a continent, scales green as emerald, and horns towering like mountains. Purunga, the Namekian guardian dragon, unfurled his titanic body and spoke in a voice that shook the planet. "Oh, one who has gathered the 7 Dragon Balls, speak your wish. I can grant any request. You may make 3 wishes." Axis stepped forward. The Grand Elder translated. Purunga only understood Namekian. "For my first wish," Axis said, "I want perfect seeds of the spirit tree fruit, the same kind as the fruit I'm holding." He produced the fruit again for emphasis. Purunga considered. "Your wish is to receive perfect seeds? That fruit is divine. Only gods may consume it when planted by the World King God. I can give you seeds, but to grow them you would need the World King God's soil. I can provide fruit too. For 1 wish I can give you 10. Give me as many perfect seeds as you can. 1 wish is fine," Axis replied. Purunga's eyes flared red. A bag appeared before Axis, heavy and warm with life. Inside lay plump, reddish seeds, the most perfect spirit tree fruit seeds, seeds that ordinary planets could not cultivate. Only the World King God's planting could bring them to maturity. "Your wish is granted," Purunga intoned. "What are your second and third wishes?" "For my second wish," Axis began, "I want to be able to absorb God of Destruction energy normally." The Grand Elder translated, and Purunga's head bowed. "I am sorry, but that wish is beyond my power," the dragon said. "Purunga," Axis asked instead, "could you tell me the method to train to absorb God of Destruction energy?" "I am sorry," Purunga replied. "That, too, I cannot grant." "Then, I wish to learn Ultra Instinct, autonomous Ultra Instinct." Purunga's great eyes closed for an instant. "I am sorry, but I cannot grant that." Axis rolled his eyes inwardly. The Namekian dragon's powers were vast, but they had limits. He thought for a moment, then spoke a different request. "Purunga, my second wish is to reset the cooldown on the Dragon Balls back on Earth so they can be used immediately." "That is simple," the Grand Elder translated. Purunga's red eyes glowed and a ripple of power spread across the heavens. "Your wish has been granted. What is your final wish?" "For my last wish," Axis said, "I want some fragments of the wish-granting orbs, wishing bead fragments. I plan to use them to experiment with creating Dragon Balls, perhaps with Earth Shenron's help." Purunga considered that carefully. "I cannot fabricate wishing orb fragments from nothing," the dragon said. "However, there are fragments that exist within this world. I can gather them and bring them to you. Please wait. 408. Huge scraps, the raw materials for making Dragon Balls. The fragments of the eye, orbs, were not ordinary debris. They were the leftover scraps from when Dragon God Zalama forged the Super Shenron. Most of those remnants had already been gathered by the Namekians, but a small portion remained here. After a sudden burst of light, a shower of golden, crystal-like material appeared at Axis's feet, exactly the same color as the Dragon Balls. The piles were enormous, each crystal measuring hundreds of cubic meters. There was easily enough to make more than a dozen sets of supersized Dragon Balls, with plenty left over. For Earth's Dragon Balls, a single small piece would likely be sufficient to craft a whole set. Axis stared in disbelief. He had expected scraps, but nothing like this. Purunga, Namek's dragon, bowed once to Axis. These are the remaining fragments of the Wish Orbs. This is all that remains in Universe 7. I have fulfilled your requests, Gatherer of Dragon Balls. Farewell. With that, the dragon flew upward and vanished in a flash, its form breaking into 7 rays of light that scattered across planet Namek. This is unbelievable. I didn't realize there'd be so much of it. They look exactly like the Dragon Balls, Goku said, picking his way through the crystals with the kind of casual curiosity that made Axis grin. It's not just that they look the same, the Namkian Grand Elder said, stepping forward to explain. These are the most primitive materials used to make Dragon Balls. When Dragon God Zalama created our Shenron, these substances were the base matter. That's why they share the Dragon Ball's color. Consider them the original raw material. Even if you know the method of making Dragon Balls, without this material, you couldn't produce a complete set. Goku scratched his head. So that's what it was. I always thought Kami-sama just molded Shenron out of mud and gave it life. Dende made one look so easy when he took over the lookout too. Turns out there's more to it. Exactly, the Grand Elder continued. Dende and Kami-sama used these materials and the right incantations to form the dragon. The Dragon Balls themselves contain extraordinary power, abilities that go far beyond what Earth's Kami could simply create by himself. The news made Axis smile. It confirmed a strange secret he'd somehow known, but that only gods usually discussed. Among Nemkians, that knowledge was passed down only to the Grand Elders as inherited memory and was kept closely guarded. If the material's available, Goku said, then any Nemikian who knows the technique could make Dragon Balls? In theory, yes, the Grand Elder replied. If a Nemkian has sufficient strength and mastery of the method, they can use this material to create Dragon Balls. Axis's mind wandered. Nemikians were a powerful race, sometimes more troublesome than Saiyans in terms of raw capability. They produced Super Nemikians, and in other sagas, Nemikians had created dragon-like artifacts nearly as potent as Purunga. The guardians of those creations fought with strength comparable to a Super Saiyan 2 or more, and there had been the Demon Realm King, whose third eye could supercharge him to levels beyond Super Saiyan 4. Axis remembered reading about that third eye and how absurdly powerful it was. It could transform a low-ranking demon official into someone who could easily defeat a Super Saiyan 4. He couldn't help picturing how useful something like that would be. Grand Elder, the Namekian said gently, the Wish Orb material is very precious. It was created by Dragon God Zalama. Please use it with care. Axis bowed. He had plans that reached beyond Universe 7, but he knew he had to be diplomatic here. I promise, Grand Elder of Namek, I will not abuse the power of these materials in this universe. That is a relief, the Grand Elder said, accepting his word. Axis then produced a single block of the golden crystal, about 1 cubic meter, and set it aside. I won't keep everything. I'll leave this with you. That slab would be enough to make another set of Dragon Balls for Namek, or if used more sparingly, several sets. The Grand Elder accepted it gratefully. The Namekians, wise and long-lived, recognized the value of preserving such a force. Even with Goku around, they couldn't rely on outsiders forever. With formalities exchanged, Axis and Goku prepared to return to Earth. Watching Goku use instant transmission, Axis took careful note of the technique. He didn't pick it up instantly, unlike some villains who seemed to imitate it right away, but after one viewing, he had a general idea and mastered it on his second try. Back on Earth, Axis set Kratos down in a quiet corner near Goku's house and settled in. Goku clapped him on the shoulder. You rest here, Axis. I'll be gone for about half a month. Vegeta and I are going to train with Whis. Axis smiled. No problem, but I have one small favor, if it's not too rude to ask. Ask away. If I can help, I will. Goku's answer was immediate. My son Kratos, he already reaches Super Saiyan 4, but he hasn't learned the power of Super Saiyan God or Super Saiyan Blue yet. Could you take him to train with Whis? The angel tutors the next generation of God of Destruction candidates. Maybe Whis can train him. Goku's eyes lit up. Kratos? Of course. I owe that kid a lot. If he hadn't helped before, Earth might have been destroyed by Frieza. Next time Whis comes to pick us up, I'll bring Kratos along. He hesitated a moment, then grinned. Axis, why don't you come too? Let's all train together. Axis smiled at the words. Goku's idea was bold, but a little naive. He and the others were not the same. Goku, Vegeta, and the rest had mastered Super Saiyan God or Super Blue forms, but they hadn't become true gods. With the Life Goddess's divine power, Axis had fully ascended to godhood in just 300 years. The only things still setting him apart from a god of destruction were that he hadn't mastered destructive energy, and his lifespan was shorter. Goku had learned under Whis because Whis was training new gods of destruction. Maybe out of respect, Kratos could learn too. After all, teaching 1 or 2 wasn't that different from teaching 3. I'll pass, Goku, Axis said. I don't think Whis would take me on. I'd rather cultivate on my own. Besides, my current power isn't something you improve with ordinary training. How will you know if you don't try? Master Whis is excellent. Vegeta and I are this strong because of him. Goku argued. Even though Axis was powerful, he had once defeated a fused Gogeta, there was still a gulf between him and Whis. Goku could sense it. Kratos spoke up stubbornly. He didn't want to learn from any angel. He had once admired the Emperor and wanted to be like his father. After Axis returned, Kratos finally understood just how strong his father really was, possibly stronger than the Emperor himself, and he had even defeated the Dark King, the true master of his grandfather. Axis had become a god by his own strength. As his son, Kratos refused to fall behind. Besides, divine power seemed like something his father also had. Don't say that, Kratos, Axis warned. You must remember that the stones of other mountains can polish your jade. A good teacher can save you a lot of detours. It took me 300 years to go from Super Saiyan 4 to Super Blue Super Saiyan God. Goku and the others did it in less than a year. Do you understand the difference? Goku's first Super Saiyan God had had tricks to it, but he had mastered it. Axis, however, had ascended to true godhood and forged a 4-colored transformation that blended his energies. A pure Super Blue or Super Red wasn't necessarily superior to the legendary Super Saiyan 4. If Kratos trained with Axis, he could learn god forms, but it would take a very long time. I understand, Father. Sir Kratos said, if Lord Whis will guide me, I'll go. I promise I won't disgrace you or the Saiyan race. He nodded, resolved. Goku sighed, watching the father and son. Axis, Kratos, you two have something I envy. Gohan won't train with me. If he trained like Kratos, it'd be great. Despite his carefree nature, Goku had matured. Living through battles like Majin Buu had taught him responsibility. He'd taken Bulma a photo album, but never thought to make one for Chi-Chi. He hadn't understood marriage once. Over time, he learned what it meant to be a husband and father, though he still relied on Chi-Chi to raise their children. Training and fighting were in a Saiyan's blood, though. Goku secretly hoped Gohan would share that dream. But Gohan, with the best aptitude and talent, preferred scholarship. Kratos snorted. What's a scholar good for? Can a scholar save the world? Can he lead a race to strength? No. Scholars are tools for politicians. In this world, only power is truth. If your power surpasses everyone else's, mortals will obey you. Wanting to be a scholar when you could be a warrior is, to me, degrading. Axis cut in calmly. Everyone has their own aspirations. You can't force your views on others. Gohan's temperament won't change unless some catastrophe forces him back into fighting. Goku clapped his hands. Leave it to me. Kratos and Axis, stay nearby. Next time Whis comes to pick Vegeta and me up for training on the God of Destruction's planet, I'll ask him to take you two along. Axis agreed. Goku handed them a Dragon Ball radar, waved, and went home. Axis and Kratos settled into a simple house produced by a spatial device. Once Goku was gone, Axis gave Kratos the radar for safekeeping. Kratos, this tracks the Dragon Balls. Now that they're restored, gather all 7, Axis told him. I will, father, Kratos answered and flew off. The Dragon Balls were miraculous, capable of granting wishes with some limits. Axis's plan was clear. He wanted to learn how to create Dragon Balls and bring that power back to their world. With such artifacts, the Empire could change overnight, restore worlds eaten by the Tyranids, wipe out greenskins, evolve entire populations. The possibilities were terrifying and glorious. Collecting all 7 Dragon Balls on Earth was trivial for Kratos. Unless Goku, Vegeta, or Gohan intervened, he had no rivals. Even if they did, they'd only be able to match him. In half a day, he returned with all 7. They chose to summon the Dragon God that evening on an uninhabited, frozen continent north of Earth. In such a place, calling the Dragon God wouldn't draw attention. Come forth, Dragon God. Grant us our wishes, Axis intoned. The Dragon Balls flared with light. A lightning bolt struck down, and an immense, cyan Eastern-style dragon, tens of thousands of meters long, appeared. It was the classic image of Earth's Dragon God. You who gathered the 7 Dragon Balls, the Dragon God boomed, bending its head. I can grant any wish within my power, state up to 3 wishes. My first wish, Axis began, is to obtain the Demon Realm royal family's treasure, the Third Eye. He intended the Third Eye, an item from Dragon Ball Great Demon King, for his wife Kasha, or to distribute among Gene Seed Primarchs. At the least, it could create beings on the level of Super Saiyan 4. The Dragon God rumbled. I am sorry, that wish is beyond my power. The Third Eye exists in another world, not within this universe. I cannot grant wishes that affect other universes. Axis nodded. He had suspected as much. When he had asked the Namekian Dragon God before, one phrase had stood out. This Dragon God only gathered wish-granting fragments from Universe 7. Fragments from Universe 6 and others weren't included. A Dragon God forged from fragments couldn't affect other universes. Slight limitations were reasonable. Then, Axis said, I already have a fragment of spatial ability that lets me cross universes. Perfect that ability. Let me actively pinpoint and freely traverse other parallel universes. This spatial power hadn't been an inherent part of Super Saiyan God, but something Axis had acquired when he transmigrated into the Dragon Ball world. When he became a god, that potential had awakened. It should be capable of traversing many worlds. He wanted the Dragon God to refine it, so he could return to his original world and visit other Dragon Ball parallel universes with precision. The Dragon God's eyes glowed with a reddish light and enveloped Axis. The faint spatial power he had manifested became sharp and clear. He felt as if he could rend the barrier between worlds and move to another universe with a gesture. He could now pinpoint every world he traveled to. If he wished, he could return completely to his original universe. All right, the Dragon God said. Your first wish is granted. State your remaining 2 wishes. For my second wish, I want the ability, like Namekians, to create Dragon Balls. The Dragon God shook its head. I'm sorry, I cannot grant that. The Namekian ability stems from the blessing of Dragon God Zalama. I cannot bestow Zalama's blessing. Then how does one obtain Zalama's blessing? Can I change my second wish to gaining that blessing? Or can you tell me how to create Dragon Balls? Axis pressed. That question itself counts as a wish, the Dragon God said. I can answer, but it will consume one of your wishes. Is that acceptable? Axis thought briefly and then nodded. The blessing of Dragon God Zalama originates from the earliest creation of the universe. It was given by Zalama to certain indigenous, benevolent beings at the dawn of existence. To obtain that blessing, you must make a wish to the Super Dragon God, the Dragon God created by Zalama. Only with Zalama's blessing can you use fragments of wish-granting orbs to create Dragon Balls. The strength of any Dragon God you create will depend on your own power and the size and number of the orb fragments you use. The stronger you are and the more fragments you employ, the more powerful the Dragon God you create will be. Axis absorbed the information. The Namekian Grand Elder had indeed been right. The Super Dragon God was the source. Axis would need to seek Zalama's blessing through the Super Dragon God. He would essentially need to make wishes to a higher dragon. The Dragon Balls he might create later would be limited by the fragments and his own power. He realized he'd likely need at least 2 wishes from the Super Dragon God for some of his plans. He wanted to use a universe tree method to integrate all parallel Warhammer universes into one and become a creator god. Some things, like restoring erased universes, would still require other solutions. "Thank you," Axis said. "Now state your third wish," the dragon god prompted. "My third wish is actually a question," Axis said. "How can a universe erased by the All-King be restored?" The dragon god looked at him in sudden, barely concealed disbelief. Asking about the All-King's power, about erasure, was bold. "There are three methods," the dragon god said after a pause. "First, the All-King may choose to restore the erased universe himself. Second, a dragon god created by Zalama may restore the erased universe. Third, Zalama himself may intervene and create another universe." "Create a universe?" Axis repeated. "You mean all existing universes were created by Zalama? You have had all your wishes granted. I will answer no more questions. Farewell." With that, the giant dragon god dispersed into light and vanished. 410. Following the angels to train, Whis guides all transformations. The dragon god split into 7 streams of light and sped off around the earth, leaving only Axis and Kratos, father and son, standing in silence on the Arctic glacier. Axis was a little at a loss. The dragon god had moved incredibly fast, but his power was limited and he couldn't grant the wishes Axis had hoped for. "Father," Kratos said, breaking the silence. He could feel the solemnity in his father's expression. What the dragon god said at the end, the All-King's power of erasure, and dragon god Zalama, what kind of beings are they, to be able to erase or create universes so easily? His voice trembled. Such power was beyond anything he had imagined. The Dark King had once destroyed a universe, and under that threat, humanity had been forced to put his grandfather on the Golden Throne. If not for Axis's furious counterattack, Axis, his father, Sanguinius, and Uncle Magnus would have been trapped on the life god's heart in the webway for 10,000 years. And now there were gods who could create or erase entire universes with a thought. It was almost incomprehensible. "Kratos," Axis said, "the universe we live in, and the countless parallel universes beyond it, are vast. The threats out there are far greater than anything on our homeworld. From what I know, the All-King is the supreme being. Above all, he can reduce a universe and all its life to nothing with a single thought. Dragon god Zalama is the primordial deity who created the miraculous Dragon Balls. His power is unfathomable." Axis had long suspected that Zalama was the ultimate creator behind the Dragon Ball universe's core miracle. The Dragon Balls are the universe's true heart, and Zalama was their true creator god. The earthly dragon god's confirmation only convinced him further. "Father, do you want to possess the power to create Dragon Balls? Do you know how to obtain the Super Dragon Balls, the wish-granting orbs?" Kratos asked. "Soon there will be a chance," Axis answered. "If you can go to the god of destruction's planet to train, listen carefully. If a god of destruction appears who looks like Lord Beerus but is much fatter, don't be alarmed. That will be the opportunity I've been waiting for." Axis suspected Lord Beerus would ask him to take part in a martial arts tournament hosted by 2 gods of destruction. The 2 protagonists in the Dragon Ball world had already reached heights not seen since the Tournament of Power arc. 2 near-death resurrections and new power-ups had made them fearsome. Goku hadn't yet fully mastered Ultra Instinct, and Vegeta hadn't achieved Super Blue, but both had reached the level of Super 4. "I understand, Father. I want to ask something else. If you could go to the God of Destruction's planet to train, would you go?" Kratos asked. "If Goku can convince Angel Whis, then of course I would," Axis replied without hesitation. Angels were the true teachers of destruction energy. They decided successors. Gods of destruction were more like employees. The angels were the ones with the real authority and power. If Axis could train on Beerus's planet under an angel's guidance, it would be the best way to learn destruction energy. If that didn't happen, while Kratos trained, Axis planned to use his newly acquired ability to travel between parallel universes to search for the third eye of the demon realm, or to salvage useful technology from movieverse realities. In one film, the planet where Metal Cooler's forces landed had incredibly advanced tech. Ordinary grunt robots from that world could wipe out Emperor-class titans in the Warhammer universe, and mass-produced Metal Coolers, each matching the peak of first-stage Super Saiyan and boasting powerful regeneration, would be a terrifying army. Gene Seed Primarchs might retire on the spot. Being in the Dragon Ball world felt like being given free rein. I hope Goku can convince Whis, Kratos said. Don't think about that now. You've transformed into Super Saiyan 4. Your power has reached a new level. After you master ki control, your combat power will be sufficient to spar with me. I'll train you and help you toward Ultra Instinct. Axis's voice held calm confidence. Thank you, Father. Over the next few days, Axis trained his son, taking him out into the wilderness daily for sparring and precise instruction. Kratos had to learn to control his power. If he could shatter a planet with a punch, he had to learn to concentrate that same destructive force onto a single point, reducing one stone to an atomic fog without harming anything around it. Axis drilled him on meticulous power control. Destroy only what you intend to, and nothing else. Axis was training his son while sharpening his own mastery. A few days later, Goku arrived, beaming with excitement. About 10 minutes earlier, Whis had come to Earth again, accompanied by a generous supply of Earth delicacies, specially prepared by Bulma. Goku and Vegeta had asked Whis if they could go to Beerus's planet for another round of training. Whis agreed without hesitation. These two were his candidates for God of Destruction. Whis, could you take those Saiyans you met before, Kratos and Axis, to train on the God of Destruction's planet? Goku asked. Vegeta frowned. Was Goku thinking this through? Whis didn't teach for fun. He trained future gods of destruction. I only accept life forms born in this universe, Whis replied. Axis may have lived elsewhere for a long time, but he is still a Universe 7 life form. If he wishes, I can teach him. As for his son Kratos, bring more delicacies, and I might be persuaded. Whis's training of new candidates was at his discretion. The Grand Priest hadn't specified numbers. Angels had wide latitude. I'll call Bulma right away and have her send more food, Vegeta said, relieved that Axis and his son would be coming. It was an opportunity to measure Axis's strength and to learn how he achieved his fusion transformation. That's great, Whis. I'll go get Axis and Kratos right now. Goku took off toward them. This is perfect, Axis said. Training with Whis will shortcut decades, maybe centuries of trial and error. Without Whis, it might take ages to get Kratos to Super Saiyan God or Super Blue. With Whis, a few months can do what would otherwise take a lifetime. And the God of Destruction's energy, exactly what I want, will be available. In a blink, Axis and Kratos joined Goku before Whis. Whis nodded, tapped his staff, and a white light enveloped them. In 20 minutes, they arrived on the God of Destruction's planet, traveling at speeds tens of thousands of times faster than light. The world itself was small, about the size of a moon, but Axis was stunned by the dense reservoir of divine power pulsating from it. His life goddess Aisha had reached the level of an intern world king god, but the divine presence on Beerus's world dwarfed anything he'd experienced. We've arrived. Lord Beerus is sleeping. Don't disturb him if it's not necessary, Whis said. Goku, Vegeta, put on my training suits. Kratos, you too. Today's assignment is simple. Run 100 laps around the planet, then do 100,000 push-ups, sit-ups, squats, and pull-ups. Goku and Vegeta laughed and immediately donned the suits Whis had prepared. Kratos stared. Was doing 100 laps and 100,000 calisthenics really going to help? Follow Whis, Axis said. This planet is saturated with divine power. If you push yourself through those exercises while wearing Whis's suit, you'll absorb the planet's power and break through your current limits. This is how Saiyan bodies evolve, by facing extreme strain and letting the body take what it needs from the environment. Whis watched Axis with satisfaction. The training looked mundane, but every element had a purpose. He wanted Goku and Vegeta to absorb the planet's divine power and evolve their bodies to god-level strength, not to rely on flashy artificial transformations. In Whis's view, transformations were a kind of energy burst. They weren't true, lasting growth. Strengthen the body itself, and you won't need ostentatious forms. Lord Beerus, after all, needed no transformations. Master Whis, what about Axis? Will he follow the same routine? Goku asked. Axis is beyond the basics, Whis replied. He's farther along than the rest of you. I'll take him for deeper cultivation. While Goku, Vegeta, and Kratos began the planet's brutal regimen, Whis led Axis to a secluded side of the world for focused instruction. Mr. Axis, Whis said as they settled, before we begin, there are a few issues I want to point out. Please, guide me, Axis replied. I've been cultivating on my own for years. I had no reference point for how to reach this state. I learned and experimented a lot by myself. I'll be frank, you need to integrate your transformations. You have many: Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, Legendary Super Saiyan 4, Super Saiyan God, and your fusion form. Those forms increase your power, yes, but they're all expressions of what's already inside you. Why must they be unlocked only after a specific transformation? You possess the power in your base form. What you need now is to consolidate all those effects so that your original form can unleash your maximum strength. If you can do that, your power will rise to a new level. Saiyan transformations were extraordinary, but Whis reminded him they were essentially ways to squeeze out innate reserves. They altered appearance and released energy on the body's surface. Even if Axis's power multiplied 10,000 times by transformation, a god of destruction could override him by raising his power a little further. True advancement meant making your base self as powerful as any transformation. Axis had already considered similar things. The transformation instinct was ingrained in Saiyan blood, hard to abandon, but he listened intently. I'm not asking you to forget those forms, Whis continued. Integrate them. Your multicolored transformations were an interesting experiment, but strip away the flashy effects. Return to your most primitive state and try to unleash your full power from there. You have a longer path ahead than Goku and the others. You've reached true godhood, so teaching you is simpler in some ways, but deeper work remains. Goku, Vegeta, and Kratos still have a long way to go. I understand, Master Whis, Axis said. Work hard. I'll be watching from the sidelines. Ask if you need help. And tell me about the other universe. Does it have any good food? Whis asked, smiling. Axis couldn't help but chuckle internally. Regarding the Warhammer universe, there were far stranger things to describe. The warp, the chaos gods, orcs, tyrannids. As for delicious food, would tins of squab or nutrient paste count? Ant cow cans and corpse starch? Nutrient fluid that had no taste at all? The answer made Axis grin at the incongruity, but he knew Whis loved culinary treats. He would have some stories, and maybe some recipes, when the time came. No problem, Teacher Whis. If you're curious, I can tell you about our universe. We have a very peculiar life form there. They are born in a place called the Warp, the intersection of fantasy and reality. Axis began explaining the Warhammer universe to Whis. The Warp was an odd and terrifying region. Oh, a space where fantasy and reality overlap. Isn't that similar to our Hell? Whis mused. Hearing Axis's description, he couldn't help but think the Warp sounded a lot like the hell of his own cosmos. In his world, every plane had its steward, and the ultimate overseer was the Grand World King God. Something like that, Axis agreed. But besides housing souls, the Warp spawns creatures called Chaos Daemons. They're beings of raw energy, and their purpose is to devour the souls of living things in the material universe. From what you're saying, they sound thoroughly evil, worse even than the demon realm. You know about the demon realm, right? Whis nodded. Though the demon realm sealed many vile races, their depravity did not compare to these warp-born demons. Axis's account of their acts made Whis think that the world Axis came from desperately needed a god of destruction to wipe them out. It was absurd. The warp was the return point for souls, so why would such abominations arise there? When I first arrived, I thought the same, Axis said. But these chaos demons are practically infinite. You can slaughter countless hordes, and as long as sentient beings in the material universe harbor hatred, greed, or other negative emotions, new daemons will be born. On top of that, 4 immensely powerful warp entities have manifested: Tzeentch, Slaanesh, Khorne, and Nurgle, each the personification of some of the vilest, coldest, negative impulses. Axis chuckled as he described the Chaos Gods. What strange, malevolent gods! They have no physical form, yet they're the mightiest powers in that universe. It's illogical, Whis said, rubbing his chin. Beings like warp gods should, in theory, be at least on par with a world king god, yet they had no bodies and were separate from the real universe. It was perplexing. If you're interested, Teacher Whis, I could take you there to see for yourself, Axis offered. He suspected the Old Ones had a hand in things, and Whis, an angel and an elite fighter, was the sort of being whose presence could reveal a lot. Oh, Ho ho, a tempting offer, but as an angel, I can't travel to other realms without permission, unless a god of destruction accompanies me, Whis replied. Axis laughed. If you come, fine, but I wouldn't dare invite Lord Beerus. He might just destroy my universe. There was truth to that. A god of destruction had the power to unmake a universe. Axis had felt it firsthand. When he had fought Gogeta, the aftershocks had rent space itself. If two such beings threw caution aside, shattering a universe would be entirely possible. Beerus's temperament was unpredictable, and the Imperium of Man, in the eyes of Dragon Ball folk, wasn't a civilized polity, more like Frieza's Legion. Axis worried that some ignorant slight might spark a fight with Beerus. You're right, Beerus isn't known for his patience, but once your training is complete, you should be able to handle the problems there yourself. You're a native of Universe 7, after all. You could always go back home if you have time, Whis said. Since Axis was a being born in Universe 7, Whis was especially willing to guide him. That's the plan. I want to return home with God of Destruction power and take down those masterminds, Axis said. Then, train hard. By the way, does your universe have any special delicacies? Whis asked, brightening. The question that truly interested him was always, what new food could he taste? Axis smiled wryly. Sorry, Teacher Whis. Cuisine in the Imperium of Man isn't like Earth's. It's purely functional, meant to fill stomachs. They even recycle corpses. But there's another race, the Eldar. They used to be one of the universe's top civilizations, luxurious, pleasure-seeking, obsessed with refinement and enjoyment. Their feasts and pleasures are endless. I can take a look and bring something back for you. Whis's eyes lit up. A top Eldar chef would be perfect, or unique Eldar delicacies. Also, bring some ingredients. No problem, Teacher Whis, Axis replied. It was a small matter for him to manage. All right, enough chatter. Time to begin your training. They fell silent, and Whis started teaching. He focused especially on how Axis could integrate his various power sources. Axis listened intently. Whis described Axis's power system. Many of Axis's strengths had come from stacking different transformation states. Those forms were not the essence of his power, but switches that had to be flipped to unlock it. I understand, Teacher Whis, Axis said, eyes hardening. I'll try to strip away those external forms and find the origin of my power. He closed his eyes and stopped deliberately stimulating his S-cells. He refrained from calling forth the golden sheen of Super Saiyan, the red aura of the God Realm, the berserker green of the legendary Super Saiyan, and the four-colored luster of his fusion form. He began searching inward for the core of his power, the Axis that had been forged through countless battles, fusions, and divine baptism. The process was harder than he'd expected. He was used to releasing power via particular forms. When he suppressed them, his energy felt sealed by layers, shifting sluggishly. His aura became chaotic, gold, red, green, and the multicolored fusion light rolled across him like spilled paint, erupting then subsiding in an unstable whirl. The fluctuations were so strong, the ground of Beerus's planet trembled. Whis floated nearby, staff lightly tapping the ground. An invisible barrier kept the energy contained so the vibrations wouldn't wake the sleeping Lord Beerus. He watched with a playful, expectant calm. Axis's aptitude was strong. Reaching a god-level comprehension by himself was no small feat. If Axis succeeded, Whis would have to decide whether to encourage him to return home and consider him seriously as a god of destruction candidate. Axis frowned, sweat beading his brow as he felt countless primal forces within him, each like a raging dragon vying for dominance. He stopped trying to command them into set forms. Instead, he sought to understand them, the raw amplification of Super Saiyan, the rules and depth of the God Realm, the boundless potential and fury of the legendary state, and the qualitative leap of fusion. He no longer separated them, but looked for their common origin, the most primitive chi and will that belonged to his life itself. Time ticked by. The chaotic lights around him slowly calmed like boiling water cooling. The dazzling gilded, red, green, and four-colored auras converged inward rather than blasting outward. Though his power remained immense, it no longer bore the oppressive signatures of his previous transformations. Instead, it grew plain and unadorned, simple and solid. Finally, Axis opened his eyes. His hair was still its natural black, his eyes black as usual, and no ostentatious aura bloomed. Yet a deep, condensed, almost tangible power radiated from him. Clenching his fist, Axis felt the surge inside him. This power no longer required an external key to unlock. He wouldn't have to transform to access it. It was his normal state, always available, obedient, and purer. The flashy four-colored glow became merely a special effect. The transformations were still usable, but they no longer served as the primary source of his strength. They were integrated, part of the whole, instead of the whole itself. By integrating all his powers, Axis had taken another step toward godhood. A divine radiance now permeated him from head to toe. Except for the specific techniques of Beerus's God of Destruction domain, which he could not yet use, in Wiss's eyes, Axis was nearly on par with the God of Destruction himself. If Axis mastered God of Destruction energy, he would be more than a candidate. He could be a formal god. "Very good," Wiss said, approval flashing across his features. "To stabilize and withdraw most of those outward manifestations on your first attempt. That's better than I expected. Your foundation is deep. Remember this feeling. Power is not mere decoration outside you. It must be an internal extension. You're moving toward the true form of a god." Axis felt the vast, calm power within and smiled. "Thank you, Teacher Wiss. This feeling is strange. My power feels more obedient and pure." "Exactly," Wiss nodded. "Now you must consolidate it. Any transformation should be icing on the cake, not a prerequisite. Your ceiling will be higher, and you can fight at your full strength in your natural state." Axis took in the words, engraving them into himself. He had learned that while Super Saiyan and godly transformations were spectacular, they were not the essence. "Now, on to the next step," Wiss said. "Since you've integrated your power and established a stable divine foundation, it's time to access a deeper level, God of Destruction energy. I'll teach you how to use it. I'm curious to see how quickly you learn." A deep purple light, as if devouring the surrounding brightness, gathered at Wiss's fingertip. It contained pure annihilation, the essence of a God of Destruction's power. "Teacher Wiss, I thought God of Destruction energy was exclusive to gods of destruction. I didn't expect an angel could wield it," Axis said. "Oh, ho ho, I'm Lord Beerus's teacher. Angels instruct gods of destruction. Naturally, we can use their energy. Otherwise, how would I teach him?" Wiss replied. Axis nodded. It made sense. God of Destruction energy is pure destructive force. It can disintegrate anything, even chi, tangible and intangible substances, cosmic rays. This energy can annihilate them. Feel it, and I'll guide you to comprehend it. Wiss taught Axis the techniques and mindset for cultivating destruction energy. The purple mote floated toward Axis like a living thing. When it touched him, Axis felt no pain. Instead, the energy entered his body slowly under Wiss's control. Deep within his spiritual core, as Axis tried to fathom the meaning of absolute destruction, Wiss smiled with satisfaction. He had not misjudged his student. Axis's comprehension was exceptional, his roots solid, perhaps the best God of Destruction candidate Wiss had ever trained. Beerus himself had lagged far behind at the same stage. It had taken Beerus centuries to reach this point. A month passed, almost in the blink of an eye. For that time, Axis remained in the training chamber, immersed in God of Destruction energy. He learned to feel that annihilating force, the way it could strip away attacks and even cling to the body like an anti-energy shield. Finally, under Wiss's watchful gaze, Axis opened his eyes. Purple light shimmered within them. "Teacher Wiss, I want to know who learned this faster, Lord Beerus or me?" Axis asked. He raised his palm and a small sphere of purple energy formed there. It was slight, but genuine, the divine power of destruction. "Your aptitude is considerably better than Lord Beerus's. It took him several hundred years to reach what you have now," Wiss said without reserve. "Thank you for your praise, Teacher Wiss. Thank you for letting me touch this power." Axis bowed to the angel. He had once thought to gamble by absorbing destruction energy prematurely, but that would have destroyed him. Now, having truly mastered its use, he understood how overwhelming it was. "You arrived at precisely the right time, Axis," Wiss said. "If you had awakened later, you might have missed quite a show. Just yesterday, Champa, the god of destruction from Universe 6, came to our universe." "The god of destruction from Universe 6? Axis said calmly. Something had arrived at last, the long-awaited Super Dragon Balls. There aren't many hair colors left for the Saiyans to keep cycling through. "Is something wrong?" Axis asked. Yes, a little, Whis replied. Yesterday, Lord Champa came to visit Lord Beerus and brought a bird's egg he claimed was a delicacy. He let us taste it. Honestly, it wasn't even as good as basic instant noodles on Earth, more like a boiled egg. Whis shook his head with a fond smile. Following his sister Vados had not helped Champa's palate. Vados constantly fed him awful things, so Champa came to regard mediocre food as divine fare. Champa had always been somewhat weak compared to other gods of destruction. His sister pushed him to improve, worried Universe 6 might someday raise someone to take his place. Universe 6 and Universe 7 are twin universes, Whis continued. Their gods of destruction are brothers, Beerus and Champa, but they don't get along. They compete constantly. Is that so? Axis said, pleased. I'd love to see the gods of destruction fight. That would be difficult. Lord Beerus ranks among the strongest gods of destruction. Champa is near the bottom. Right now, your power might hang with Beerus for a bit, but you'd lose eventually. Against Champa, though, you have a real shot. Train a little longer and, if you master Ultra Instinct, you might even challenge Beerus, Whis said. Then, I'll spar with Champa if the chance comes, Axis replied. Whis smiled and went on. Let me tell you how this all started. Beerus had me bring several barrels of instant noodles from Earth. Champa loved them and learned about Earth's culinary delights. If Universe 7 has it, Universe 6 has to have it too, so Champa went searching for his universe's Earth. Unfortunately, Universe 6's Earth had been destroyed. Champa couldn't find Earth's food, so he decided to make a bet with Beerus over Earth's existence. Gods of destruction are obstinate, Axis said. But would Beerus agree to something so petty? Not at first. Champa raised the stakes. There is something both universes covet, the Super Dragon Balls, what some call wish orbs. Champa and Vados had collected 6 of the 7. He put those 6 up as the wager. The bet, each universe will send 5 warriors. If Universe 7 loses, our Earth goes to Universe 6. If Universe 6 loses, they hand over the 6 Super Dragon Balls to Beerus. Whis glanced at Axis. Lord Beerus wants you and your son Kratos to join the battle to guarantee our universe's victory. Will you participate? For mortals, fighting to protect the planet made sense. Axis was not from Earth. He had no such obligation. But if Axis and Kratos entered, Universe 7's chances would skyrocket. Goku and Vegeta both qualified as potential God of Destruction candidates. Axis alone, now freed of mortal constraints and wielding destruction energy, could crush Universe 6's lineup. Even Champa would be outmatched. I'll win this for sure if I fight, Axis said bluntly. The original story had Universe 6 taking the tournament. Monaka had been a weak plant by Beerus's ploy, so Beerus wanted stronger assurances this time. This is exactly why I came to you, Whis said. Beerus asked me to invite you both. Axis had a condition. I want the 6 wish orbs after we win. Can I have the right to use them? Whis blinked. Axis wanted the Super Dragon Balls. The last of the 7 sat where the tournament would be held. Whoever won would have access to the wish orbs. It was a rare opportunity for father and son to claim the power of Zalama's creations. Axis, you actually want the stakes, Whis said with a helpless laugh. I can't decide that, but come, I'll take you to Lord Beerus. They found Beerus lounging and gorging himself. Goku, Vegeta, and Kratos stood nearby, debating the final spot on the 5-man team. Vegeta, should we bring Piccolo or Majin Buu? Goku asked, counting on his fingers. Goku and Vegeta would be 2 slots. Kratos and Axis would fill 2 more, leaving 1. Piccolo, Vegeta said after a beat. Majin Buu is too unpredictable. If Axis doesn't join, bring Buu. Fat Buu was a brute force with near immortality and frightening strength, but Piccolo was steady. Goku nodded in agreement. Whis arrived with Axis. Goku waved. Beerus's expression shifted abruptly. Axis was different. Gone was any trace of his mortal Saiyan body and its messy forms. His power was unified and finished. Destruction energy flowed through him. Beerus, who felt destruction energy acutely, recognized that signature immediately. Not bad, Beerus said, eyeing Axis in surprise. You've mastered destruction energy. You're about the level of an average god of destruction. With a bit more maturity in its use, you'd be fully qualified, more so than Champa. Huh, Whis, you should recommend him for Universe 6's position. He would get along with them better. Whis raised an eyebrow. Lord Beerus, I can recommend candidates for Universe 7 only, And it's another thing entirely whether Axis wants to be a god of destruction. Beerus just grinned. He was the kind to think aloud. Axis, though, wondered about replacing a god of destruction. What actually happened to a god of destruction who lost his post? He'd heard rumors during the Universe 6-7 tournament when Grand Zeno had threatened, "If things aren't done right, I'll replace the god of destruction." Beerus and Champa had trembled. Some had whispered that replace might mean execution, but later events in the Tournament of Power introduced the idea of substitute gods chosen by the Grand Minister, so death seemed unlikely. Axis thought it more probable that a replaced god simply lost his title and returned to normal life in his universe, no longer immortal, perhaps, but not erased by Zeno. After all, why would Beerus coach mortals toward potential godhood if such a loss meant death? Beerus, warming to the idea of victory, turned triumphant. "With Axis on our team, we don't need to worry about Piccolo or Boo. Champa won't stand a chance." "Lord Beerus," Whis interjected, "Axis says he'll join, but he wants something. He asked that the wish orbs be given to him after we win." Beerus's tail twitched as he considered it. Gods of destruction rarely cared for the Dragon Balls. Their limits didn't reach past the Angels or the Grand Minister and Zeno. The Super Dragon Balls were powerful, but they couldn't affect those above their creator. Besides, retrieving the final ball would be a bother. Beerus shrugged. "Fine, I have no real use for them, and it's more fun to watch them worry. But remember, those wish orbs belong to our universe. If you win and want to use them, fine, but you cannot take them out of Universe 7. "I understand," Axis said. "Good," Beerus said, yawning. "Get ready. In 3 days, we'll go to the Null Realm and put Champa in his place." "That's great," Goku exclaimed. "I want to fight you." "If you want, anytime," Axis replied. "By the way, how's the fusion of your forms coming along? SS4 mixed with Super Blue. If you guys can fuse those powers, Gogeta could be a match." Goku laughed. "We're still working out the SS4 stuff. It's only been a month. We've barely gotten comfortable with it." "It takes time," Vegeta grunted. Axis turned to Kratos. "How about you? Have you mastered Super Saiyan God?" Kratos' body shimmered with a red aura, his frame sharpened, and a divine light shone in his eyes. "I've learned divine power. I can transform into Super Saiyan God at will." Then, in a beat, he shifted, his red energy flaring into the blue of Super Saiyan Blue. "And I can combine it with Super Saiyan." "Good," Axis said approvingly. "Training on the God of Destruction's planet paid off. Now you need to do what Goku and Vegeta will. Integrate SS4 and the God forms. Don't make Saiyans a race of color-changing gimmicks. There aren't many hair colors left to play with. Learn to make transformations an expression of your base power. Master the forms so they become part of you rather than separate gimmicks." Goku, Vegeta, and Kratos listened intently as Axis laid out the next stage of their training. Fuse and integrate, not stack colors. It was the path forward. "I see," Goku said, eyes bright with excitement. "I understand." Kakarot nodded, thinking it over. Integrating all powers and returning to a normal state. That sounds really tough. "Vegeta, Kratos, we need to train harder." Axis, a scion of their generation who had already far outstripped them, smiled. Even his son was now on their level. They couldn't afford to fall behind. Vegeta snorted and crossed his arms. "Kakarot, now's not the time for philosophical talk. The priority is the tournament in 3 days. Whis, are there any notable fighters from Universe 6 we should be worried about?" "Mr. Vegeta asks a fine question," Whis replied with his usual smile. "You will learn Universe 6's lineup when you arrive. It's a secret for now. They don't know our situation either. If anything leaked, the match would lose its fun." "No need to worry," Lord Beerus boasted, sprawled sideways in his chair with an indulgent grin. "Axis will be our final participant. Kakarot, Vegeta, Kratos, you 3 can have fun. We'll win this." Having an existence whose strength rivaled a god of destruction made him feel untouchable. "We won't let anything happen," Kratos said confidently. A month of training with Kakarot and Vegeta had sharpened him. Training under a god-level instructor had real benefits. His father had been right. Besides, solo cultivation could be painfully slow. "Everyone take a break. We'll leave soon," Beerus said, then yawned and went back to lounging and eating. He and his brother were both gluttons who never seemed to gain weight. "Kakarot, Axis, Kratos, want to come back to Terra with me for a bit? I plan to tell Bulma first. Then have her start on the dragon radar, Vegeta said. Cough, let's go too. I haven't seen Gohan and Chi-Chi for a month, Kakarot said cheerfully. Father, I won't go. I want to stay and rest, Kratos replied. Are you heading to Terra, Axis? This Terra is different from Holy Terra, much bigger, different geography. I do need to go. I have something to handle, Axis said. Before the tournament, Bulma had already decided to build a dragon radar to track the Super Dragon Balls. Axis wanted detailed information, so he planned to consult Zuno, the being who supposedly knew almost everything in the universe, past, present, and even future. I understand. When the tournament starts, I'll come to Terra to pick you up. For now, I'll send you back, Whis said, waving his staff and sending Axis, Vegeta, and Kakarot to Terra. Back on Terra, Kakarot and Vegeta saw their families and told everyone about the upcoming tournament between the two universes. What? They're using our universe as the stake? How can they do that? Bulma snapped, furious. Why didn't they ask us? Krillin added, dumbfounded. The other Z-fighters all voiced similar complaints. Kakarot laughed and waved it off. He saw it as a chance to fight strong opponents, but most people understood the seriousness. Mortals shouldn't be treated like collateral. Axis listened. To the gods, mortals often seemed as insignificant as ants. There was no malice, just a vast gap in perspective. The gods of this world were comparatively benevolent. In other universes, gods might be truly dreadful. Axis, do you need anything on Terra? Want our help? Vegeta asked. Unlike carefree Kakarot, Vegeta was meticulous. He couldn't understand why Axis had left the God of Destruction's planet instead of staying with Whis and Beerus to train in God energy. You found me out. I have some questions to ask Zuno. In this universe, Bulma and that Galactic Patrol officer Jacko are planning to see Lord Zuno. He knows almost everything. I thought I'd go along, Axis said. Bulma had mentioned she needed to understand the wishing orbs to make a dragon radar. Jacko had mentioned Zuno. Vegeta was surprised. Axis could foresee this. In fact, Axis had known before they even returned to Terra. You're something else, Vegeta said, impressed. Axis laughed. Vegeta, be good to your wife. Bulma is the greatest scientific mind in the universe. Why not wish with the Dragon Balls for her to become immortal? You once wanted that, didn't you? Now, it's not impossible. You and Kakarot are on paths close to godhood. After that, you'll have extremely long lives. Vegeta frowned. What about Trunks? His future descendants? Trunks' daughter? Do I have to hunt down Dragon Balls for every single one and make them immortal? Axis grinned. That's easy. Why not make a family of gods? Make your family divine. You want your son and his descendants to be immortal. Establish a divine clan. It's not that hard. Vegeta's surprise gave way to a rueful smile. Saiyans cared about their legacy. Why worry now? After the match with Universe 6, he'd find the Dragon Balls and restore Bulma's youth. If he didn't become a god and unbalance the world, eternal youth should be doable. As for Trunks, that was a decision for the future. Axis gave Vegeta a thumbs up. Sharing immortality with family made sense. Want to come with me? If your wife goes alone, someone might take advantage of her. A man should support his wife, and you can ask if there are other ways besides the Dragon Balls to get immortality, Axis teased. He remembered how, in the original tale, Zuno answered one question to men. Women who kissed him could ask more, sometimes many more, depending on how he liked their looks. A young female villain once got 10 questions by kissing him, while an older Bulma only managed 3. Axis had no intention of letting anyone kiss his wife. Vegeta would see to it, or Axis would demonstrate some god of destruction energy himself. I'll go too. I won't let Bulma go alone, Vegeta growled. Good. If I'm making a dragon radar, I need info on the wishing orbs. Jacko, take me to Lord Zuno, Bulma said. I'll take you there, but Zuno is difficult to deal with. Be prepared, Jacko warned. Take me too, Kaba and others chimed in, or rather, Kaba smiled and kept quiet. A Saiyan's presence made everything easier. Rumor of the Saiyan's ferocity still traveled the cosmos. Bulma added, annoyed, I'm not planning to use Earth money, Vegeta. My sister travels the galaxy and sends currency we can trade. We can pay. Vegeta scoffed. Sure, on Earth your money solves problems, but in the universe, one energy blast from me solves more. Earth currency isn't universal. They all climbed aboard. Bulma's larger family ship carried Axis and Vegeta, while Jaco piloted his small saucer. The starship could accelerate to hundreds of times the speed of light and perform space jumps. Superluminal travel was hard, but jumps were faster and technically simpler. After a few tens of minutes, they reached a pink planet populated by fat, pink-skinned humanoids. The reception area was crowded. Many visitors were there to ask questions, others perhaps to admire Zuno. They signed in with the reception staff, stating their purpose. Lord Zuno will see everyone who wants to ask questions, but you must make an appointment. If you sign up now, you'll be seen in about 7 years, the receptionist said. 7 years? We don't have time. Can we pay extra to go now? Sorry, Lord Zuno's rules don't change. Everyone must make an appointment. If I let you in now, what do I tell the others? The staff said, expressionless. At that moment, a 3-meter-tall, frog-like creature stomped up. I've waited 7 years for today. Hurry, take me to Zuno. You made an appointment 7 years ago. Your question can be answered now. Follow me, the staff said. Hey, that green frog, give us his spot, Vegeta said, flashing forward coldly. Who do you think you are? The frog demanded. I'm Prince Vegeta of the Saiyans. If you're smart, you'll move, Vegeta replied. Saiyan, I'm sorry, I'm leaving. The frog fled in terror without looking back. The other waiting guests scattered at the name Saiyan, and the square suddenly fell quiet. Bulma laughed awkwardly, proud and slightly smug. That should be enough, right? Vegeta said. Follow me. The receptionist sighed and led them into the palace. You who came to ask questions, offer your tribute, Zuno's attendant announced when they reached him. For men, he answers one question. For women, it depends. What do you mean tribute? Money? Bulma asked. Just kiss him, Jocko said, as if it were no big deal. Then, with a practiced motion, he stepped forward and kissed Zuno. 4:14. God's secret third eye intelligence and the land of nothingness. Even Axis, who already knew most of the truth, couldn't help but shiver at the scene. He felt queasy. Seriously? This pervert demanded sacrifices just for a kiss? A woman's kiss might answer a few questions, useful to determine physiological matters, but a man's kiss, Axis felt disgusted just thinking about it. You're disgusting, honestly, Vegeta snarled, his face screwed up like he was constipated. Damn it, if he hadn't followed along, Bulma might have kissed him too. No way would he or Bulma ever let that happen. Axis probably wouldn't either. They had to find another way to get answers. Don't be like that. Lord Zuno only asks for a kiss. It's not some priceless relic. It's just a sign of respect, like a custom. I'm telling you, Lord Zuno is incredibly powerful, almost omniscient and omnipotent. For example, Lord Zuno, my question is, what's the bust measurement of the Earthling Bulma? Jocko asked. Her current bust circumference is 67.7 inches. Because of her age, it's sagged. It used to be 87.5 inches, Zuno answered, blunt and honest. Vegeta's face darkened and flushed. Bulma looked mortified. You idiot! Why ask something so pointless? Why not ask about the Super Dragon God? Vegeta roared. Why did everyone around him have to be such idiots? Zuno, oblivious to the outrage, shrugged. For men, one kiss answers one question. For that woman, she's a bit old and her bust has sagged, so one kiss will answer 3 questions. She's not my type either. He touched his face. Axis couldn't help laughing out loud. Compared to the grim Warhammer universe, the Dragon Ball world really did have its lighter side. Even the strongest beings could be ridiculous sometimes. I won't let my wife kiss you. Forget it. Answer my question now, or I'll blow this place up. Vegeta snapped, already radiating golden light as he shifted into Super Saiyan. He pointed at Zuno, daring him to refuse. Zuno only looked at him with the same blank expression. To him, Vegeta's power was still below a full god. Vegeta had only grazed the godly arts. But then Axis stepped forward and patted Vegeta's shoulder. If you won't answer, I can demonstrate a little destruction energy, Axis said, extending his palm. A purple orb condensed there, humming with terrifying destructive power, the signature of a god of destruction. Cooling sweat popped out on Zuno's brow. He stared at Axis in surprise. Who was this person? His omniscient sight had failed to read this man's full past. He could see into events across all 12 universes, and even several parallel ones, but Axis's history was a blank after the age of 6, with only a sudden appearance in this world about a month ago. It suggested Axis had come from outside the universes Zuno monitored, and now this Axis demonstrated an understanding of destruction energy. Could he be a candidate for God of Destruction? If so, Zuno should show deference. Respected God of Destruction candidate, ask whatever you wish. I will answer any number of questions, Zuno said, his tone instantly deferential. Vegeta, Bulma, and even Jaco were stunned. That purple spark had been real destruction power. Axis could actually be a destruction candidate. A major figure indeed. Good. First question. We need every detail you have on the Super Dragon Balls created by the Dragon God Zalama, Axis said. No problem, Lord Axis, God of Destruction candidate, Zuno replied. The wish-granting orbs were created by the Dragon God Zalama in the 251st year of the Divine Calendar. They are perfectly spherical. They exist in Universe 7 and Universe 6. Zuno poured out everything he knew, down to maddening detail. The God of Destruction has already collected 6 of the Dragon Balls. Where's the last one? Bulma asked. If they could get the information like this, she wouldn't have had to make a Dragon Radar in the first place. The last Dragon Ball is in the Void, the remnant of a destroyed universe, Zuno said. The Void? Vegeta glanced at Axis. Wasn't that the battleground Beerus had mentioned? One more thing, Vegeta said. Besides the Dragon Balls, what other ways can mortals achieve immortality or reach godhood? There are many methods to prolong life, though no one truly escapes the possibility of erasure by the Omni King if he decides so, Zuno answered. The simplest ways to eternal youth are the World King God's Fruit of God, the divine energy of a World King God, or blessings from an angel. A wish from the Dragon God will also work. If you want to become a god, you need the World King God's permission, but you'd only be god of a single planet and must oversee its operation and maintain it. Vegeta nodded. Becoming a god came with responsibilities. Too much. He'd rather pursue eternal youth for Bulma than assume planetary stewardship. When it was Axis's turn again, he asked, I want to obtain the God of Chi and learn how to summon the Fruit of God and make wishes. No problem. Come closer and I will transmit the God of Chi into your mind. You can use it directly afterward. Axis stepped up and Zuno tapped his forehead. An obscure stream of divine script and information poured into Axis's head, the theory and use of God of Chi. Axis learned that to use a Fruit of God properly, one must wield God of Chi. Mortals alone are not suitable to directly use such divine artifacts. Super Shenron, when summoned, pays heed mainly to gods. The first time Super Shenron was used, Whis and Shenron cooperated to make a wish. Later, in another universe, a World King God's apprentice used him to gain immortality and swap bodies. At the Tournament of Power, Android 17's wish was relayed through the Grand Priest. Without having attained godhood, mortals rarely attract Super Shenron's attention. Axis then asked, Do you know anything about the third eye of the demon realm? Zuno hesitated. I know of it, but not in our 12 universes. It's in a different universe, one whose demon realm's king keeps the third eye. Using it grants great power to even ordinary people, but at a price. If you want one, go to a general store in that world's demon realm. 2 eyes are still unsold there. Axis nodded. That matched the Dragon Ball movie plot he'd heard. Zuno wasn't just bluster. I can travel between parallel universes, Axis said. Can you give me the coordinates to that one? No problem. Zuno relayed the coordinates and engraved them into Axis's mind. Axis could now reach that universe with his travel ability. One last thing, Axis said. How does one train Ultra Instinct? You're already on the path, Zuno said. When your body can fight completely on its own without your conscious control, you'll have achieved perfect Ultra Instinct. Axis accepted that. Whis's training had been on the right track, which explained how Goku had once reached it. Before they parted, Axis fished out a small bottle and poured a trace of destruction energy inside. Consider this payment, he said. If you have troublemakers, you can direct this energy to attack them. It won't harm you. Axis had learned a trick from a Ninth Universe god of destruction. Seal a fragment of destructive energy into a container or person. Zuno gratefully accepted the offering. It counted as a proper sacrifice and didn't violate his rules. Thank you. I will accept it gladly, Zuno said, smiling. He even hoped Axis might one day replace Lord Beerus as Universe 7's god of destruction. With their questions answered, Vegeta, Bulma, Axis, and the others left by instant transmission back to Earth. Jaco, as a galactic patrolman, would take the ship back to headquarters to report. 3 days later, Axis, Vegeta, and Son Goku arrived at a wide-open area where where the competition would be held. They had chosen their final participant, Piccolo Daimao. Although Majin Buu had great power and strange techniques, they wanted a strategist type among them. The Saiyans weren't natural tacticians. Piccolo's sharp mind at critical moments made him ideal. When Lord Beerus arrived, Kratos also stepped out of a flying vehicle and called, "Father!" "Good. It seems you've grown stronger in these 3 days. In this tournament, you'll meet formidable opponents. Give it your all," Axis told him. Hit, the assassin from Universe 6, was expected to be a tough challenge. He'd fought Goku before. Beerus nodded and strode to the rectangular cube that served as the arena entrance. Everyone followed. This time, the Z-Fighters had brought their families to watch. The Old World King God and the World King God of Universe 7, along with their attendants, were also present. "Lord Beerus, we've detected information about the Fruit of God," Vegeta said. "According to Zuno, the last Dragon Ball is in the void." "Excellent. That makes things easier," Beerus said. "Bulma should have the Dragon Radar ready, right?" "It's done. As long as we win the competition, we'll be able to find them." The auxiliary radar will be given to Axis. That's the reward I promised. 1 use of the Fruit of God." Vegeta handed Axis the Dragon Radar Bulma had made. Bulma stepped forward seriously and explained in detail how to use it. After some travel, they arrived on a desolate planet in the void. Vados had already prepared the site, a circular arena the size of a football field and rows of spectator seats. As the two sides gathered, the two purple cats, Beerus and his counterpart, began bickering and mocking each other, as they always did. "All right, let's start the first match," Vados said, producing a thick stack of test papers. "First, I must test whether your intelligence is normal." Axis stared at the papers and thought, "Seriously? I still have to take a written test? Do we really have to answer these kinds of questions? What's the point?" Son Goku asked. "Like I said, it's just to check that your IQs are within reason. I can't let people with cognitive problems fight each other. What if you hurt the audience or damage the void? This tournament is Lord Beerus's responsibility, and I must take my duties seriously," Vados said with a mischievous smile. The smile made Axis uncomfortable. Even as an angel, she looked wicked. In the original stories, Vados's personality is sly. She enjoyed teasing, especially her own portly brother. But Whis of Universe 7 was a different sort of schemer. He loved fine food more than scheming, but that didn't mean he wasn't sharp. "Sis, as long as you're happy, let's get on with it. The questions aren't hard. If your IQ is normal, you'll get most of them right," Whis said, grinning. As siblings, he knew Vados's tastes well. Did she have to pick on people from our universe too? "You only need to get 50% right. Don't tell me you can't," Vados added. Axis snorted, picked up a pen, and to everyone's astonishment, finished the entire answer sheet in under 10 seconds. Kratos finished in the same amount of time. "Are you kidding? The Warhammer Empire's gene seed Primarchs aren't pushovers." When Axis was young and undergoing the Emperor's modifications, he spent more than 30 years studying in virtual mental spaces with Mikado, culture, cosmic science, the arts. His early education matched the Custodes. Those massive golden warriors weren't just fighters. They could be scientists, artists, painters. Kratos had been raised by Ms. Yudin of Macraj and taught noble etiquette as a child. Macraj was once one of humanity's most cultured worlds. Later, he was taken by the Emperor for further tutelage. These simple test questions were child's play for Axis and Kratos. "Oh my goodness, 100% correct. I underestimated Universe 7, Vados said, collecting their papers. She hadn't expected such cultured minds in this universe. Given how brutish many fighters were, most would have taken hours. To finish in seconds spoke of real intellect. All right, if Axis and Kratos finished so fast, the rest of us can do it too. Let's go, Vegeta." Goku happily dove into the paper. Vegeta and Piccolo shook their heads but joined in. Everyone from Universe 6 began answering as well. Axis and Kratos, done, sat to the side. Vados drifted over, peering at Axis with curiosity. "I never would have guessed your Universe 7 produced someone like you. Whis, have you already chosen a God of Destruction candidate? Is Lord Beerus planning to retire?" Vados was slow to notice. She could sense the divine power on Axis. It was rich, comparable to a World King God, and he'd already come to grips with destruction energy. If Beerus had retired, Axis could have directly inherited the position. Ho ho, Whis said, smiling. You noticed. Yes, Axis is a candidate I've been training. Besides Axis, Whis had also been cultivating Son Goku and Vegeta as possible candidates. Kratos, however, was excluded. He wasn't a life form native to Universe 7. You kept this from me. Sister's heart is betrayed. Vados feigned offense. Little brother couldn't help it. Why don't you cry? My shoulder's right here, Whis teased, and the angels began their usual sibling antics. The revelation unsettled the nearby fat cat. Champa, god of destruction of Universe 6, bolted over, practically vibrating with rage, and scrutinized Axis. He could feel destruction energy. Beerus, you scoundrel! You're cheating! How can that guy be allowed to compete? He has to be disqualified. I want him out of this. Champa's face contorted. He knew exactly how dangerous a god of destruction candidate could be. Without a countermeasure, destruction energy could wipe competitors out instantly. What? Is there any rule barring a god of destruction candidate? Beerus replied coolly, hiding a smug grin. And you're not the only ones. Whis taught him destruction techniques himself. I protest. This is cheating, Vados. Look at this, Champa roared. If you're so sure, why don't you put forward a god of destruction candidate from Universe 6 to face ours? Beerus said, tauntingly. I don't mind if Universe 6 fields a candidate, unless you don't even have one. Shut up, Beerus. Don't be so arrogant. If you're so capable, fight me one-on-one. Champa snapped. He'd been a god of destruction for less time than Beerus and wasn't thinking of retiring. Retirement wasn't appealing. Retired destruction gods were a different status entirely. Vados frowned. This does upset the balance. Having destruction energy in the ring is too unfair. We should disqualify your Universe 7 contestant, Axis. We didn't say such a rule before the competition started, Whis countered. Axis has learned to use destruction energy, but he isn't a sitting god of destruction. We never ruled out Universe 6 from sending a candidate. That's still unbalanced. If he participates, it's like us surrendering now, Champa growled. Beerus leaned in, playfully provocative. If you're going to throw a tantrum, why not send another contestant? I'll give you a break and won't add another from my side. He wanted to bait Champa into agreeing to increase the numbers. Champa sprang to the bait. Who are you insulting, Beerus? Fine, add another contestant. 6-on-6 then, he roared. The tournament rules meant a team member who won could keep fighting. A single strong fighter could clear a whole side if allowed. Beerus swept his gaze over the stands. Many Z-fighters had come. Krillin, Yamcha, Android 18, Gohan, Chi-Chi, Goten, and Trunks. The audience quickly discussed who to send. Yamcha and Krillin were out, too human for this field. Gohan had been a scholar during Frieza's invasion, letting his fighting atrophy, but the recent events had lit a fire in him. Trunks and Goten were powerful, but still children. They weren't suitable. Master Roshi was unreliable. In the end, Android 18's side handed her daughter to her husband and volunteered. Fine, I'll go. Wait, Aunt Android 18, let me. I've trained this month. I may not be great, but I can take one opponent, Gohan insisted, shedding his jacket to reveal a yellow turtle hermit guy. The invasion had reminded him that scholarship was important, but martial training couldn't be ignored. He'd been training and had recovered much of his former strength. Good, Gohan, come on. This'll be interesting, Goku said, giving his son a proud thumbs up. With that, both sides filled out to 6. The teams were set. Beerus addressed Champa coolly. If you lose, Champa, you might as well step down. You'd be bringing shame on the gods of destruction. The first round began, and as in the original, Son Goku was first up. He stepped forward in base form and showed astonishing power, far higher than usual. He demolished the yellow giant cat in a handful of exchanges without bothering to go Super Saiyan. Earlier events had boosted both Goku's and Vegeta's base power dramatically, so this decisive win wasn't surprising. The next match was Frost, who bore a close resemblance to Frieza. Frost's form was like Frieza's first stage appearance, and the bout was dull. He was no match for Universe 7's fighters. But then a treacherous tactic surfaced. An opponent managed to land a poisoned needle sneak attack, and that ambush took both Goku and later Piccolo by surprise. Piccolo especially paid the price. His injuries were severe enough that he couldn't continue in the remaining matches. Universe 6 had suddenly picked up 2 quick, underhanded victories, 2 consecutive wins that stunned the crowd. For a moment, the balance shifted, and the idea of Axis competing loomed all the more threatening to Champa. Champa, furious, sent out a hulking robot. Universe 7 answered with Vegeta, the prince. Vegeta dismantled the robot cleanly. Universe 6 sent another Saiyan after him, but the man was outclassed by Super Saiyan Vegeta. In a bizarre moment, the challenger asked Vegeta how to transform into a Super Saiyan. Vegeta, with supreme arrogance, taught him the basics and then dismissed him with, "Even if you learn it, you'll only be a base-level Super Saiyan. Don't bother competing with me." At this point, Universe 6 was in trouble. 4 of their fighters had been eliminated, while Universe 7 had lost only Piccolo. Then Hit entered the arena. Despite showing signs of injury, Hit's presence changed everything. He struck with his trademark precision and speed, and in quick succession he felled Vegeta and then Goku. Both universes watched in stunned silence as the assassins' time-skip-based techniques tore through their best combatants, leaving them severely hurt. Finally, it was Kratos' turn to step into the ring. "You've expended a lot of energy, taking down those 2. Take this, eat it. It will restore your stamina." Kratos tossed a second-generation spirit tree fruit toward Hit as he entered. "You actually plan to let me recover?" Hit said, surprised. "Like I said," Kratos replied calmly, "I hope we can have the long fight I've been waiting for." 416, Super Saiyan 4 vs Flash Time Power. Using the power of Super Saiyan 4 in Super Blue state, Hit nodded and took the strange fruit without a word. He ate it in a few quick bites. Immediately, a majestic life energy poured into his limbs and bones. His drained stamina recovered astonishingly fast, even edging past his previous peak. The purple aura around him solidified and grew stronger. The fruit's effect far exceeded his expectations. "What a miraculous fruit," Hit said to Kratos, surprise in his voice. "It not only restored my stamina and healed most of my wounds, it also slightly boosted my physical strength. I can feel it." If Kratos had given the fruit to one of his teammates earlier, the match might not have needed Kratos at all. "Goku, is that like a senzu bean?" Gohan asked curiously. "Yeah, it's miraculous. Better than a senzu bean," Goku answered. "It restores stamina and heals, and it even slightly improves physical ability. At our level, the change isn't huge, but for someone new to Earth, it would be massive. If it's so amazing, why give it to the opponent? He was worn out from fighting my father and Uncle Vegeta. Now would be the perfect time to finish him," Gohan said, baffled. Vegeta snorted. "You idiot. You don't have an ounce of Saiyan pride. When we Saiyans fight, we beat our opponents at their strongest. We don't take advantage of weakness. Kratos did the right thing. Learn from him." The crowd murmured in surprise. The fruit's effect was like a senzu bean, but even better, and no one had brought senzu beans to this tournament. "Gohan, don't be stupid," Goku said. "If we're going to fight, we fight fair and square. When will you grow into a true warrior?" "It really does heal like a senzu bean," someone in the stands murmured. "It's like a senzu bean, but stronger," another replied. "Looks like we're in for an incredible duel." In Universe 7 stands, the Z fighters and their families watched eagerly. Hit bowed his head slightly. "You, like that Son Goku I fought earlier, are a worthy opponent. I will fight with everything I have. That's the proper response." The killing intent around him condensed again. Hit was a genius killer, and his fight with Goku had pushed him past his limits. This new opponent might let him break through once more. Kratos' voice was low and filled with combat hunger. His body sank into a fighting stance, and a primitive, wild aura rose. Red fur burst over him, his muscles swelled, and crimson-rimmed pupils glared out from a beast-like face. Super Saiyan 4. Goku and the others had seen Super Blue earlier, not Super Saiyan 4, so Hit had no experience with this form. Kratos had chosen it deliberately to meet the challenge. "It's completely different from your last transformation. I thought you'd turn blue-haired too," Hit said, then vanished in an instant. It wasn't sheer speed that did it. He seemed to skip time. Time skip. Half a second. A phantom-like Hit appeared to Kratos' left, a hand blade of condensed purple ki aimed for his neck at a speed beyond normal vision. "What?" A genuine trace of surprise flickered through Hit's eyes. For the first time, one of his time skips had been seen through and reacted to by an opponent without using time powers. Kratos' grab missed, and Hit's strike also found nothing. He reappeared a step away and reassessed this red-furred, black-eyed foe. Intuition, premonition. Hit's voice was cold. Don't underestimate Hit, assassin of Universe 6. You've already fought 2 matches and used many tricks. I've seen the flaws in your time skip. Be serious, or you'll lose. Trained personally by an emperor, Kratos still possessed a keen fighter's talent. He had watched Hit battle Goku and Vegeta and knew his patterns. This is getting interesting. If I don't come up with something new, I'll lose, Hit said with a smile. After 1,000 years of life, strong opponents were rare. Today he had met 3. Kratos grinned, white teeth bared, a savage Saiyan fighting spirit fully ignited. Again. This time, Hit didn't probe. He increased his time skip to a full second. He moved through time gaps with cunning angles, fists, palms, fingers, elbows. Each appearance was a killing move. Purple Ki hissed like a venomous tongue, striking from unpredictable directions. Super Saiyan 4's raw power and heightened senses let Kratos anticipate attacks. On the ring, he dodged and weaved among a storm of purple afterimages, his movements broad and powerful. Each block erupted with a dull roar, making the ring tremble. SS4's strength allowed him to clash with Hit's condensed killing ki, and his beast-like instinct let him avoid vital points at the last moment, counterattacking in the gaps between Hit's strikes. Boom! Kratos smashed a fist into the afterimage of Hit's instant movement. The blast tore a huge crack in the ring. Seconds later, Hit's knee came up at Kratos' waist. Humph! Kratos roared, his abs coiling like steel. He absorbed the blow, barely swaying, and cracked an elbow into Hit's head. Hit disappeared with another time skip, and the blow struck air with a thunderous crack. The intensity of this clash far surpassed the earlier fights. SS4 Kratos' strength, defense, and instincts made up for his slower speed. This was an even matchup with Hit's elusive time skip. Every collision felt like meteors striking. Shockwaves rippled outward, the protective barrier trembling. Even the 2 gods of destruction watched intently. So amazing! Big brother Kratos is holding his own against that monster, Gohan shouted, heart racing. Watch closely. This is what a Saiyan's battle looks like, Vegeta growled, analyzing Hit's time skip angles. Kratos hasn't used that blue power yet? Whis said with a smile. Axis said nothing. Kratos had pride. SS4 was his answer for Hit. Lord Champa frowned. Universe 7's Saiyans had so many transformations, golden, blue, and now this red-furred monster. Vados suggested lightly that Hit might be a candidate for Champa's own Universe 6 god of destruction. Champa, annoyed and embarrassed, barked at Kaba to reflect on not having this form. On the field, Hit's prolonged assault still hadn't broken Kratos. His eyes sharpened. Relying on short time skips and conventional attacks wouldn't be enough. He inhaled deeply, and the purple aura surged. 1 second time skip. Hit pushed himself again, his disappearances longer, and his continuity and suddenness even more extreme. He attacked as if at several points in time at once. Countless purple fist shadows and finger blasts rained in from impossible angles, trying to cover every evasion space. It's over. Hit's voice seemed to echo from the temporal rifts. Facing an all-encompassing assault that seemed to come from the future, Kratos in SS4 felt unprecedented pressure. His instincts screamed, but his body couldn't match the attack frequency. Several sharp purple finger blasts slipped through his defense, scoring deep wounds across his red-furred body. Blood welled up. Pain ignited something primal inside Kratos. A roar shattered the air. Roar! A dazzling azure light burst skyward. The red fur receded, replaced by an aura that burned like blue divine flame. His black hair shifted into deep blue. Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, Super Blue. The godly aura filled the arena. Speed, strength, and perception leapt with the divine enhancement. A faint red aura of SS4 still clung to him. Kratos had begun to fuse the 2 forms' powers. Hit's time skip attacks, once too fast to track, became visible through Kratos' super blue perception. The skipped gaps showed subtle ripples under his godly insight. Got you! Kratos' cool blue eyes locked onto the position where Hit would reappear. When Hit rematerialized with a killing blow, he met not evasion or a block, but a fist wreathed in sacred blue flame, so fast it seemed to defy time. Bang! A bone-jarring impact sent Hit flying back faster than he arrived, slamming into the arena barrier like a comet. The barrier caved inward, leaving a terrifying crater and spreading cracks. Hit spat blood. His purple aura flickered, nearly collapsing. Cough, the godly realm. You're stronger than that Son Goku from earlier, Hit managed, struggling to his feet. He wiped blood from his lip and regarded Kratos, bathed in divine blue flames like a descending god, with solemn respect and a small thrill at having found a worthy opponent. So that's it, your full power, he said. There was no point in continuing. He had pushed his limits all day and reached his peak. Now he was outmatched. The arena fell silent as the climax ended. Hit looked at Kratos in quiet acknowledgement. A few seconds later, he straightened as best he could. Though injured, his imposing presence hadn't fully faded. On his perpetually icy face, there was a subtle loosening. You are very strong, Kratos. This time I accept defeat, Hit said, then turned and walked off the stage. His actions were clear. The ace assassin of Universe 6 had been beaten. Then the stands exploded. Universe 7 cheered wildly. Kratos had decisively defeated the arrogant time-skip assassin. Well done, Kratos, Goku shouted, exhilarated. Vegeta grunted, but his eyes reflected grudging respect. This kid's the Saiyan I knew. Axis had raised a fine son. Impressive, Android 18 said. An incredible fighter, stronger than Goku and Vegeta. Other universes nodded in acknowledgement. Universe 6, however, went silent. Their ace was down and only one fighter remained, God of Destruction Champa. His face, usually purple, had gone black with fury as his body trembled. A suffocating, destructive aura rolled out over the venue. Trash! All trash! Champa roared. This is humiliating. I'll handle this personally. He pointed at Kratos, but his gaze cut right past Kratos to Axis, who had been calm in the stands. You! Axis, your son's done. It's your turn. Aren't you a God of Destruction candidate? Show this great lord your worth, the candidate of Universe 7. A direct challenge from a God of Destruction. All eyes turned to Axis. Beerus straightened with excitement. Whis smiled with quiet anticipation. Axis met Champa's blazing stare, rose, and without a word curled his lips into a composed, battle-ready smile. He stepped down and appeared in the arena, standing opposite the enraged Champa. Kratos, still on the field, protested. Father, you're overstepping. I haven't lost, and son Gohan hasn't fought yet. That's enough, Axis said calmly. You and Gohan are no match for a God of Destruction. At that, Gohan leapt down to the arena. Watching the fierce battles had stirred him. His scholar's demeanor fell away. Son Gohan, the fighter, had returned. 4:17. Axis versus the God of Destruction. Champa, the ultimate showdown. Uncle Axis, as Kratos said, it's not your turn yet. Opportunities to fight a God of Destruction are rare, and I want a real Fan said, determination hardening his voice. Axis glanced at him, hoping this wasn't another 3-minute burst of enthusiasm. If Gohan wanted to be a true warrior, he had to be patient. Kratos nodded with a smile. It wasn't bravado, it was the warrior's instinct, the afterglow of defeating Hit still warm, and the terrifying presence of a God of Destruction had only stoked his desire for a challenge. A battle with a God of Destruction. What an exhilarating chance. Father, give me a chance. Mr. Axis. Kratos is right. Gohan's voice carried a power and certainty they'd rarely heard from him. He looked at Axis, then at the furious Champa. Universe 6 still has one fighter who hasn't gone in, and I haven't entered the ring either. This match isn't over. Please give us a chance. Gohan, Krillin, Piccolo, and others in the stands were surprised and delighted. It had been a long time since such a strong fighting aura had come from him. Vegeta folded his arms, uncharacteristically withholding sarcasm. There was approval in his eyes. Goku grinned, clenching his fists. That's my boy. Go for it, Gohan. Hey, you two ignorant brats. Champa's fury skyrocketed. His corpulent form trembled as purple God of Destruction energy roiled around him like molten rock. I'm going to fight that reserve. Axis, not you two nobodies. Get out of my way or I'll destroy you both. Champa's face contorted with rage. His pride as a God of Destruction felt affronted. Two mere mortals dared to obstruct him? Preposterous. Axis looked at Kratos and Gohan standing side by side, then at the raging Champa. As a father, he wanted his son to face such a god, to learn and grow. But today was not the time. If Champa were his usual self, letting Kratos or Gohan test themselves would be acceptable. Good training. But Champa was beyond reason now. One wrong move and he might unleash God of Destruction energy without restraint and wipe them out. Father, I've fought Lord Beerus before. Trust me, Kratos protested. Both of you, cut it out. Today is not the day, Axis said. If you both are so eager, find a deserted place on the other side of the planet and have your fight there. Your strengths are similar. Kratos may even be a bit stronger. He can give Gohan a proper lesson. When Kratos had sparred with Beerus, the god of destruction had been playful, holding back and not using god of destruction energy seriously. Champa, however, had a far more violent temper. In the original timeline, he almost killed Hit and others. If the Grand Zeno hadn't appeared, Universe 6's fighters would have been wiped out. The angels, to them, had only observed. In the angels' eyes, the life forms of these universes were toys, cherished if interesting, discarded if not. Axis couldn't risk sending the boys into Champa's current fury. "Father, how can this be? Axis, you should let the kids fight," Goku shouted, furious. Rekindling Gohan's fighting spirit had been hard-earned. "Shut up, Kakarot, you idiot. Don't you see what's happening? Do you want your son to die here?" Vegeta snapped, grabbing Goku. Sparring a powerful opponent depends on timing. Champa was at the edge of madness. He'd act recklessly. Sending the boys out now would be cruel. Axis is right. Now is not the time for them to go up. "Trust Axis," Beerus said, opening his eyes to look at his brother. He understood Champa better than anyone. Right now, Champa had lost his temper entirely. If the boys entered the ring, Champa would show no mercy. Kratos sighed and nodded. Father was right. He wasn't a god of destruction, and Gohan, while strong, was still a better sparring partner than a sacrificial lamb. He put a hand on Gohan's shoulder. "Come with me, Gohan. We'll find a deserted place and have a good exchange." "Ha ha! I couldn't ask for more," Gohan replied. Though it stung to miss a fight with a god of destruction, Kratos would be a strong opponent. "Damn it. I want to see Kratos and Gohan fight, but I also want Axis and Champa." Goku scratched his cheeks. Torn and disappointed, he couldn't use multiform. Vegeta snorted. He was more excited about the upcoming god versus god clash. This would be a true, evenly matched fight. Nothing like Beerus having gone easy before. On the ring, Axis stepped forward to face the enraged Champa. Everyone knew Universe 6 had already been badly beaten. Axis hadn't even had his official turn, yet Universe 6 was on the brink of collapse, while Universe 7 still had 2 fighters left. Champa said nothing. He snorted and charged. His fury solidified into tangible god of destruction power. Violent purple energy exploded around him like boiling magma. The entire floating platform vibrated. The alloy floor was gouged with bottomless ravines. Spiderweb cracks raced to the barrier. Champa ignored any competition rules. He destroyed the ring in an instant. The 2 angels, Whis and Vados, quickly stepped in, erecting a protective barrier to contain the power. If 2 gods of destruction clashed without restraint, the results would be catastrophic. "Ignorant mortal, disappear!" Champa's bulky body moved with terrifying speed, punch surging with destructive authority. There were no fancy techniques, just the crushing will of a god of destruction behind the blow. Space groaned and twisted in front of his fist. Axis's eyes were calm as still water. He did not transform. No golden aura, no blue flame, no red fur. He simply stood, and every perceptive being, angels, gods of destruction, elite fighters, felt an immense contained power flowing within him. Axis had integrated all his strengths. Every cell brimmed with Super Saiyan 4's raw force, the explosive essence of a legendary Super Saiyan, the insight of Super Saiyan God, and a controlled portion of God of Destruction energy. It transcended transformation. It was the perfect expression of his root power, like Mystic Gohan's sublimation, but deeper, more comprehensive. Just as Champa's blow was about to land, Axis moved. His motion seemed unhurried, but cut precisely through the turbulence of Champa's strike. He opened the fingers of his right hand and met Champa's wrist at a tricky angle. In his palm condensed a ball of dark purple energy, refined god of destruction power. "Don't think you're the only one who can use that," he seemed to say. Bang! The 2 currents of purple annihilation collided. A massive burst of energy and a brilliant purple flash erupted from the impact, hammering the surrounding void. Axis's palm struck the inside of Champa's wrist. 2 homologous but opposing destructive energies screamed against each other. Purple cracks and dark red ripples fanned outward from where their limbs met. Axis had also infused the blow with the dark red divine power he'd integrated and perfected. Crack! The reinforced barrier shattered like glass. The shockwave swept outward, and weaker spectators in the stands, Krillin, Yamcha, Kaba, and others, found themselves breathless, their bodies flung backward. If Whis and Vados hadn't hurriedly re-established a protective field, the consequences would have been unimaginable. How powerful! That aura almost killed us, observers from Universe 7 muttered, pale with shock. If not for the angels, most in the stands would have been finished. Maybe only Goku and Vegeta could have survived. Is this the true power of a god of destruction? Lord Beerus didn't show his full power against me, did he? Goku asked, astonished. I did tell you. I only used 70% against you. My full power doesn't even include God of Destruction divine energy. If I use that, my strength would multiply. Watch closely, kid, Beerus said, lounging with interest as Axis and Champa dueled. Oh my Whis, this candidate you trained is impressive, Vados observed with a faint smile. Ho, I'm confident in Axis. Perhaps one day I'll call him Lord Axis, Whis replied lightly, if Beerus ever chose to retire. Wherever the shockwave passed, the floating platform moaned. Chunks of alloy at the edges were flaked away and pulverized into cosmic dust. The void beneath, normally calm, roiled like a lake struck by a boulder. Towering spatial turbulence and black cracks spread like a spiderweb. What? You actually stopped me! Champa stammered in astonishment. He had thrown a punch that could pulverize stars and met something like the universe's most resilient singularity. Not only had the blow failed to move Axis, but the recoil numbed his arm. The god of destruction energy in Axis's palm, pure refined, was every bit as legitimate as his own. More unnerving was the undercurrent in that power, a primal, savage wildness born of life's deepest roots and an indescribable divinity that carried order and majesty. Axis wielded not only Saiyan divinity, but also a shard of the Warhammer universe's divinity. What's the matter, Lord Champa? Is that all? Keep attacking. Let me see the power of a god of destruction, Axis said calmly, eyes like knives. He suddenly applied force at the wrist he'd pressed against. An irresistible surge of pure destructive energy erupted. Champa was forced back a step, his feet gouged 2 deep pits in the ground. A faint golden light leaked from the cracked surface. The planet beneath them was actually a wish-granting orb, hidden under dust. Roar! I'll kill you! I'll destroy you! I'll destroy you all! Champa had gone berserk. His dignity as a god of destruction so flagrantly challenged had driven him past reason. He unleashed both fists and filled the sky with a dense, rain-like barrage of purple destructive blasts, each capable of shattering a planet, pouring down like a storm. At the same time, he launched himself forward, space-tearing god of destruction power, infusing his fists and feet in a whirlwind of close-quarters assault. Axis laughed coldly and blurred. He didn't meet the rain of destructive energy head-on. He weaved and dodged through the gaps with astonishing grace, as if he knew each blast's trajectory in advance. When unavoidable, he used refined, thread-thin strands of destructive energy to detonate shots prematurely, or swung a palm like a blade to cleave incoming blasts in 2. Against Champa's close assaults, Axis displayed sublime combat skill, blocking, deflecting, and countering with flawless fluidity. His Saiyan instincts and perfect mastery of divine energies let him strike at the weak points of Champa's attacks. Every counter fused wildness, divinity, and destruction into devastatingly refined, penetrating blows. Boom, boom, boom. Their duel was cataclysmic, but the angels kept it confined. Whis and Vados extended their staves, creating the limits that contained these 2 titans. As Axis and Champa fought at high speed, the angels even maneuvered the barrier into orbit. The combatants tore across the shattered arena, each clash howling with thunder and cleaving wide areas of space. Dark red divine force and deep purple storms raged around them, further shredding the platform. In his fight with Universe 6's God of Destruction, Axis used not only the newfound God of Destruction energy he'd mastered, but also the divine power he had integrated. The void turned inside out. Spatial cracks like hungry mouths swallowed escaping energy and shredded matter. Their fight ruptured the barrier between realities and spilled into a strange, alien space. Everyone in the stands watched, breathless and awed. My goodness! Mr. Axis actually held the God of Destruction at bay? Gohan shouted, both fired up and incredulous. This is his true strength, his ultimate form, integrating everything without needing to transform. Vegeta growled, excitement plain on his face. Ho ho ho, what a magnificent duel, Whis chuckled, eyes narrowed. Axis's control is perfected. Lord Champa has truly met his match. Oh my, his power, his control, his combat wisdom. He truly is worthy of inheriting the position of a god of destruction. If Lord Champa doesn't calm down, he may well lose, Vados added, her playful smile gone, replaced by a touch of genuine admiration. At the center of the battlefield, an energy storm raged. Axis's ultimate form, the synthesis of all his power, was fearsome, but facing an unrestrained, enraged god of destruction Champa, the pressure on him spiked. Champa's attacks came like an endless tide of annihilation. Every blow carried destructive energy capable of erasing entire galaxies. Each block and dodge cost Axis a tremendous amount of ki. His mountain-like aura wavered, but this was the kind of blood-boiling combat a Saiyan craved, a thrill he'd felt only when facing the Emperor, the Dark King, and Khorne. None of them, however, were on the level of the god of destruction standing before him. Axis seized a sliver of an opening. He slipped into Champa's guard like a ghost. His right hand formed a single finger, 5 digits joined, a pinpoint of dark red light condensed at the tip, as if the core of a dying star had been focused into one point and aimed at Champa's chest. That one-finger strike contained everything Axis had fused into his body. The penetration of Super Saiyan 4, the explosive force of the legendary Super Saiyan, the refined control of Super Saiyan God, and the erasing characteristic of God of Destruction energy. Champa's pupils shrank. Danger flooded his senses. He roared and slammed his own God of Destruction power into a deep purple, diamond-shaped shield over his chest. The dark red point struck like a molten spike through ice. The diamond shield shuddered. A spiderweb of cracks raced outward from the contact. Champa was shoved back, his feet gouging furrows in the shattered ground, until he slammed into the angel barrier and skidded to a halt. The shield over his chest was riddled with fissures and dimming, nearly pierced through. The arena fell silent. God of Destruction Champa, your rage makes you blind, Axis said. Die, you brat! Champa bellowed in return, launching a desperate killing blow. He poured his life's cultivation and fury into the punch. The target was Axis's heart. The speed and raw violent will behind it made it clear. Even Axis, if hit squarely, would be mortally wounded. Instead of choosing a full block or a dodge, Axis angled his body. He turned just enough to spare his heart, exposing his left chest and shoulder to the incoming strike. He only feigned a block with his right arm, while retracting and concentrating the bulk of his defensive divine power around his vital organs. Champa's fist slammed into the junction of Axis's left chest and shoulder. Flesh and bone tore. Even a divine body could not entirely withstand a god of destruction's blow. Axis let out a strangled cry and was hurled backward, crashing to the ground. A satisfied, almost grim smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. Champa moved in, raining more devastating blows onto Axis as he lay there. Axis's body flew like a broken kite. A massive indentation stretched from his left chest to his shoulder. Clothing, skin, muscle, and even bone in that area were annihilated by the destructive energy. Blood gushed in a fountain, only to be disintegrated the moment it touched the purple aura. A hazardous deep purple glow tinged his whole being. His life flame flickered dangerously low. This looked like death. "Father!" Kratos cried, bloodshot eyes wild, about to rush forward. "Don't move!" Beerus snapped. This match did not permit outside interference. Beerus hadn't expected Axis to fall so quickly. He had seen Axis could have dodged. For some reason, Axis had chosen to take the hit. "Uncle Axis," Gohan shouted. Goku frowned. He could have dodged that. Why didn't he? "That kid's not right," Vegeta muttered. Then his expression sharpened. He glanced at Kratos, remembering the spirit tree fruit Kratos had just produced. Axis had once said he'd never used the Saiyan near-death revival. This was a risky gambit. Take a fatal blow to trigger the Saiyan rebirth. Whis' smile deepened. As Universe 7's angel, he understood Saiyan physiology and guessed Axis's plan. "How audacious," he murmured. "A bold tactic, using a god of destruction as a stepping stone." Vados allowed a faint smile. "Lord Champa, if you don't finish this properly, you may find yourself on the wrong end of that plan." Across the void, Universe 7 watched, hearts in throats. Universe 6's contingent erupted into cruel laughter as Champa gaped at Axis's ruinous state. "Ha ha! Idiot, really took my god of destruction power head on." Champa taunted between breaths of triumph. You think just because you can use that energy you can contend with me? There are levels among gods of destruction, and I'm far above you. Die, I'll wipe you out for enraging me. Champa's joy at apparent victory grew. He hammered Axis further and began to prepare a finishing strike, a concentrated mass of deep purple energy in his palm to end everything. He was sure no one could survive such a blow. But Axis's smile only widened. The more Champa beat him, the more satisfied Axis appeared. It was bait. If Axis died now, the gamble would pay off. From the stands, panic spread. Goku lunged forward but was held by Vegeta. Kratos was restrained by Beerus. Vegeta, Axis is about to be killed, Goku shouted. Quiet, Kakarot, Vegeta replied. Watch. Remember how we were after being nearly killed and healed? Watch. The memories clicked in. If Axis had taken the same path, severe injury, then revival, his power could spike beyond imagination. As Champa raised his finishing palm, Axis's eyes snapped open. He pushed himself upright, opened his personal space, and slipped a spirit tree fruit into his mouth while no one was watching. Terrifying life energy surged through him. Red and green vitality flowed across tendon and bone. Damaged muscle knitted, fractured bone mended, and the most primitive Saiyan potential ignited. Axis's life flame flared back to life. A guttural roar, ancient and bestial, broke from his chest. His barely existent aura exploded into a roaring, golden torrent, flinging off the remaining god of destruction residue. Cells that had been crying out in pain now released an overwhelming, previously unreachable power. Champa's triumphant laughter died in his throat. What? Impossible, he gasped as Axis's aura climbed beyond its former peak, making Champa feel a primal dread. Suspended in the air, Axis's dark gold and crimson aura haloed him like a deity's. He looked down at Champa with unnerving calm. Lord Champa, Axis said, voice steady yet humming with power. Thank you for that beating. If not for you, I wouldn't have gotten here. Now it's my turn. Vados covered her eyes with a small, almost indulgent smile. Oh dear, Lord Champa, you're about to learn a harsh lesson. Don't worry, I'll step in when things get completely out of hand. Everyone finally understood. A Saiyan on the brink of death revived stronger than before. Axis vanished, not by visible speed or instant transmission as they'd seen it, but by an effect of being erased and rematerialized. One instant he was gone from his spot. The next he was directly in front of Champa, nearly face to face. He had incorporated Goku's instant transmission into his own technique, teleportation without telegraphed movement. Champa didn't have time to react. Axis's right fist, charged with nothing mystical now, no god of destruction energy, was a solid, mountain-heavy strike. It smashed into Champa's face. The impact sounded like a world-ending crash. Champa's fat features twisted. Saliva, blood, and a few teeth flew. His head snapped back so violently his whole body launched backward like a thrown boulder. He slammed into the angel barrier set by Whis and Vados. With such force, the supposedly indestructible wall groaned, caved inward into a deep pit, and spidered with cracks. Axis descended like a meteor. His hands became afterimages as fists pounded Champa again and again. Quick, brutal, unrelenting. Punch after punch landed. Champa's mind blanked. Who am I? What am I doing? He was being beaten senseless. Cries and silence fell across the arena. The fat cat god had been turned into a swollen, battered mess. The people of Universe 7 erupted into stunned cheers. Axis had reversed the tide. Universe 6's fighters felt ice in their veins. Whis beamed. Beerus stood up, eyes bright with feral pleasure. This one's mad, Beerus said with that dangerous twitch at the corner of his mouth. But well done. Keep going. Somewhere in the stands, a familiar, amused voice, Teacher Tom, let out a playful, cat-like exclamation, as if joining the cosmic chaos with a cameo. The image of two cat gods fighting was not lost on anyone. In the pit the barrier had formed, Champa writhed, half unconscious, shrieking in humiliation. To be beaten like this by a candidate, then given such a brutal punishment, stung worse than any wound. That's enough, Mr. Axis, Vados said, stepping in between them. Lord Champa is beaten to the point he cannot stand. The match is over. Stop. Axis paused. He had not intended to kill Champa. Far from it. If the god of destruction hadn't given him that beating, Axis couldn't have triggered the revival that boosted him now. He wiped blood from his fists and smiled, wry and grateful. I didn't use any finishing blows, he said. Although it looks bad, he's fine. Vados suppressed a giggle and tapped her staff. A white light wrapped Champa. Within a heartbeat, the god of destruction who'd been reduced to a pulp was restored, revitalized, and scowling with renewed vigor. The fat cat that had been lying on the ground suddenly opened his eyes, jumped up, and stared furiously at Axis. "Damn you! How dare you! How dare you!" God of destruction, Champa was a mess of anger and fear. He was furious because he'd been utterly humiliated. The dignity of a god of destruction had been trampled into the dirt. He was scared because he couldn't actually beat this guy. Axis's power after reviving from near death was on a completely different level. Champa had been getting thrashed, period. Oh, Lord Champa, that's enough. Don't make a spectacle of yourself, Vados said with a small smile, standing calmly at his side. Damn it, woo, Vados, whose side are you on? I was the one who got pummeled, and you didn't even comfort me. Champa wailed, his face the picture of wounded pride. Go ahead and cry. Want to fling yourself into Vados's arms and call her mommy a few times? Axis said, smirking. You're acting like a spoiled child. The comment froze the air. Everyone from Universe 7 covered their mouths and stared at Champa. The sight of a god of destruction behaving like a petulant child was impossible to forget. Champa's face burned red. He glared at Axis. Lord Champa was raised by me, Vados said, smiling serenely. When he was very small, I looked after him. See how well I nurtured him. He grew this robust. So if he wants to call me mommy once in a while, what's the harm? Damn it, Vados. I'm not calling you mommy. Shut up! Champa snapped. You win this time. The 6 wish-granting orbs are yours. Chish, they were our spoils to begin with, Beerus said, grinning triumphantly and reveling in another jab at Champa. Besides, I had no idea you treated your angel like a mother, such a grown child. Champa blinked and stalked back to his spectator tier in a rage. But when he looked toward his own fighters, his expression hardened. A purple glow gathered in his palm, then 2 spheres of destruction energy coalesced there. Universe 6 went pale. Lord Champa, what are you doing? Kaba asked. You want to know why? Champa barked. You good-for-nothings made us lose. I told you to fight like your lives depended on it, and you ignored me. You treated my orders like nothing. His pride was smashed in front of Universe 7. He couldn't let anyone from his own universe talk about it, so he decided to silence them here and now. He would wipe out his contestants and then warn the World King God to keep quiet. Hit's face was stone. Die. If they'd deliberately thrown the match, he'd have no excuse. But they hadn't. Universe 7 had the overwhelming advantage. Hit had even managed a 1-on-2 victory. Everyone else had been taken out by single opponents. But Lord Champa, we already fought hard, and you were the one who appeared last, Frost protested. Humph, how dare you disrespect a god of destruction? Champa snarled. None of you will escape death today. Everyone in Universe 7 tensed, incredulous at Champa's petulance. You can't do that, Son Goku shouted, standing. Piccolo and even Vegeta moved to intervene, but Lord Beerus held up a hand. That's a matter for another universe, Beerus said coldly. None of our business. Don't interfere. You all performed well today. Prepare to head back. To a god of destruction, wiping out a few beings by decree was nothing. They were executioners on a cosmic scale. The deaths of a few mortals meant nothing. The 2 angels suddenly stiffened. Axis felt an unfamiliar key swell in the center of the arena. 2 tall, slender figures in blue and red stood with them, and a short, round, very cute figure stood between them. Lord Champa, Lord Beerus. Both angels warned their gods at once. Champa roared even louder. I'll wipe you out. Use whatever time skip you want. Transform into whatever Super Saiyan. I'll show you the power of a god of destruction for mocking me. But the people of Universe 6 just stared blankly. When did they ever mock him? They'd been beaten by a candidate. What else could be done? Lord Champa, the female angel tapped his head with her staff helplessly. Lord Beerus sighed. Whis tugged on Beerus's ear. The 2 gods' gazes snapped to the center of the arena. When they saw the little figure there, their eyes went wide, sweat beading on their foreheads. Both rushed forward almost faster than flight and bowed 90, then 180 degrees. All king. Champa's voice trembled. Greetings, all king. Beerus stammered, his whole body shaking. Gods of destruction feared nothing except the being before them. This was a presence above universes. What are you doing? Looks fun, the All-King said in a childlike voice. That small one. He feels strange, the World King God of Universe 7 murmured. Then old Kai slapped him across the face. You idiot, you don't even recognize the great All-King. How did you become a World King God? Old Kai trilled, furious. This is the supreme ruler above the 12 universes. Learn some manners. He looks like a kid, someone murmured. Who is that? Axis's expression went serious. This harmless-looking child was the real terror, the ceiling of the Dragon Ball power system. With a mere gesture, the All-King could erase entire universes. Gods of destruction were nothing before him. He could replace or eliminate them at will. His two attendants were, by all accounts, second only to the Grand Priest in strength, stronger than the angels. The two angels descended and bowed. Axis mirrored them, stepping forward to make a good impression. He'd read the rumors before transmigrating. The All-King was above universe-level beings. He could recreate destroyed universes and had authority beyond the apparent 12. Some conspiracy theories said the All-King was a pawn of the Grand Priest, but the one clear fact was that the All-King could erase any universe on a whim. Oh, you must be the God of Destruction candidate for Universe 7. You did well. I saw it all, the All-King said, nodding at Axis. Champa's legs went rubbery and his body trembled. Several World King gods flew over and knelt, quivering like the gods of destruction. The two angels straightened beside their masters. All-King, we weren't aware you would come today. What brings you here? Beerus asked, trying to steady his voice. I came because you were holding activities without permission, the All-King said matter-of-factly. I wanted to remind you not to forget your duties. Don't get lazy. Our sincerest apologies, All-King, Beerus said, terrified. Lord Beerus prefers sleeping to destruction and loves gourmet food, Whis blurted out quickly. Lord Champa also neglects his health. He's out of shape and his power has declined. He even lost to Universe 7's candidate. I worry he can't fulfill his duties, boo-hoo-hoo. And he dislikes my cooking, Vados added, feigning tears. Axis's mouth twitched. Report your master like that? The angels were cold-hearted indeed, practically reporting their own sovereigns. Maybe we should change the God of Destruction, the All-King said. Champa and Beerus both perked up so fast their mouths dropped open. Change Gods of Destruction? That was extreme. The All-King studied Axis closely. Unlike the rumors about him joking, this time he was serious. Your name is Axis, right? Your combat power is strong. Perhaps you'd be more suitable than Champa. How about you become the God of Destruction for Universe 6? The All-King proposed. The words landed like a bomb. Champa scrambled to his knees. No, please, All-King. I will work harder. I won't neglect my duties again, he begged. The God of Destruction of Universe 7 is currently qualified, but Universe 6's God of Destruction seems unable to fulfill the role. What do you all think? The All-King asked. Beerus breathed a sigh of relief on behalf of Champa and shot him an exasperated look. As a God of Destruction, losing to a candidate was shameful. All-King, according to the rules you set, each universe's God of Destruction must be chosen from that universe. I haven't found a suitable replacement in Universe 6, Vados said, smiling. Oh, right. Thank you for the reminder, the All-King said. If he's not eligible, I'll make an exception and choose a God of Destruction from Universe 7 for Universe 6, just this once. Champa stared at Vados imploringly. All-King, he's sometimes silly and gluttonous, and he complains about my cooking, but he's not bad overall. Please don't replace him, she said. Thank you, Vados, Champa sobbed, relieved. Then we'll observe him for now, the All-King decided. Oh, I came to remind you, but watching your fight was very entertaining. Next time I'll call all the universes, bring contestants from everywhere, and hold a big universe-wide tournament. Really? That's amazing. Son Goku brightened and stepped forward, but Axis blocked him with a look and a sweep that knocked him back out cold. I won't let you get close to the big shot, Kakarot. All-King, if you want thrills, I can recruit top experts from other universes, Axis said. The Tournament of Power had sparked ideas. He needed another wish from the Super Dragon Balls. He could summon powerful world bosses, the Great Demon King, movie-level antagonists, even beings from other mythic settings. The gods of destruction looked at him as if to say, Are you suicidal? Really? Other universes, the All-King said, intrigued. I can go into my universe and find interesting things for you, Axis offered. He had in mind a few terrifying entities, warp gods, star gods, that would make the Omni King's playtime far from dull. The All-King bounded forward and took Axis's hand. Axis felt the strange, limitless spatial power around him. You're quite interesting. You have a spatial ability. I can sense it. You were born in our universe, but can travel to other worlds. I'm usually bored playing alone. Your universe seems full of evil. I almost want to erase it, the All-King said casually. Axis froze. Did the All-King know about the Warhammer universe? He tried to keep his voice steady. You can use the Super Dragon Balls to strengthen that ability, so you aren't limited to our universe. I mean all universes connected by ki. Axis's mind raced. Not just the Warhammer universe and the Dragon Ball world, all ki-related universes? Then the All-King added something that made Axis's blood run cold. The Grand Priest has already gone to take a look, the All-King said. Your existence connects worlds. That place is very evil. Maybe I should just erase it. Axis's thoughts snapped into 100 directions. The Grand Priest went there? The Grand Priest had visited the Warhammer universe? When had that happened? 420, the High Priest trapped in the Warhammer, the Super Dragon's Wish, and Axis's Dragon Ball, wiping out the Warhammer universe? Don't be ridiculous. That universe isn't under my jurisdiction. All-King chuckled. I was only teasing, he added, his smile easy. As long as that universe didn't provoke him, he had no intention of erasing it. He was only teasing Axis, as he had teased other gods of destruction before. All-King, when did the Grand Priest go to the world I transmigrated to? Axis asked. All-King stroked his chin. When you first left our universe, the Grand Priest discovered a space-time rift. It opened briefly, swallowed you, and then vanished. Later, as your power grew, when you reached godhood and became a beacon, he still couldn't find you. It was only when you returned by your special ability that we became aware of the passage. The Grand Priest followed it. If it weren't for you, he wouldn't have been able to get through. But once he went in, he couldn't come back. All-King had two reasons for coming: to urge the god of destruction to complete his mission, and to ask Axis to bring the Grand Priest back. You mean the Grand Priest is still in my world? Axis blinked. Yes, your ability is very special, very powerful. Even the Grand Priest can't freely transmigrate worlds like you can. That power only fully manifested after you became a god. So, could I trouble you to bring him back? All-King asked. Of course, Axis replied. I'll bring him back. A question had been nagging Axis. If the Grand Priest had been trapped one-sidedly, how did All-King know the universe there was so evil that he wanted to erase it? All-King, if the Grand Priest is trapped there, how did he send news back? Axis asked. All he could manage was telepathic impressions, All-King explained. By the time the rift closed, he was stuck. He only got a few glimpses of that world back to us. But those glimpses were enough. That universe is extremely corrupt. Its mortal life index is very low. He gave a small laugh. I was curious about its human index, but what the Grand Priest sent back was worse than we expected. It's around 0.8. For reference, our worst here, Universe 9, has 1.2. Universe 7 is about 3.3. Our top universes exceed 7 easily. Axis nodded, secretly relieved. All-King's erasure power was formidable, but he needed to be inside a universe to use it. Even the Grand Priest couldn't freely move between universes. Without Axis's passage, the Grand Priest would probably have been trapped in the Warhammer universe forever, able only to send back a few scraps of intelligence before the rift sealed. All right, Axis said. Anything else? Nothing more of consequence, All-King replied, but his tone brightened. Just one favor, bring some powerful fighters back. We'll hold a tournament. No problem, so long as you don't casually erase my universe, Axis said. That universe probably deserves it, but suit yourself. I'm too lazy to deal with it. I'll leave this to you. With that, All-King gave a dismissive wave, gathered his attendants, and vanished in a streak of light. I never expected Father would go to your universe, Whis said, looking at Axis. No wonder I couldn't sense him for a while. Vados studied Axis with curiosity. Angels found their duties dull sometimes. New horizons were always intriguing. If she had known earlier, she might have asked All-King to dismiss Lord Champa and let Axis serve here for a while. He would have made things interesting. I only learned of this myself, Axis said. But don't worry. After I make a wish to the Super Dragon, I'll bring the Grand Priest back. Enough talk, Beerus snapped. This is All King's mission. Do it quickly. Let's find the last wish-granting orb. Champa nodded in agreement. Nothing outranked All King's orders, but Axis had now met All King. The relationship, potentially even the family ties with the Grand Priest, might shape the future. The seventh orb is right beneath our feet, Axis said, placing his palm on the planet's surface. When we were fighting just now, you should have seen a golden glow from underground. This planet in the void has accumulated dust, which hid it. I'll restore it. He channeled his god of destruction energy over the planet, stripping away the dust. Beneath, a perfect wish-granting orb gleamed. I never thought the last one was here, Beerus muttered. Then make your wish. Axis, bring the Grand Priest back quickly, Beerus urged. Axis nodded. The two angels and the gods gathered the 7 giant orbs and spoke in the language of the gods. A golden beam shot into the sky, and the super dragon manifested. It was prodigious, vast as a galaxy, yet a smaller golden avatar appeared for conversation. The super dragon ignored everyone except the 2 angels, addressing them in the archaic tongue. Only the angels, the gods of destruction, the World King God, and Axis could comprehend it. God who gathered the Dragon Balls, speak your wish. I can grant one wish. As expected, the super dragon answered only to gods. Whis turned to Axis. You want to strengthen your transmigration ability, don't you? No, Axis shook his head. I already asked the dragon on Earth to enhance that. Returning to my universe is something I can manage. For this wish, I want the ability to create Dragon Balls. Whis raised an eyebrow. If that brings your father back, then understood. He addressed the super dragon solemnly. The super dragon's eyes glowed, and a flood of golden energy washed over Axis. The method to create Dragon Balls imprinted itself in his mind. He was granted a dragon control ability resembling the Namekian's affinity. With the wish orb fragments he had, he could now fashion his own Dragon Balls. The more intact the fragments, the greater the created dragon's power. Your wish is granted, the super dragon intoned, barely glancing at Axis. It then split into 7 great orbs and returned to scatter across universes 7 and 6. Axis felt a swell of godly pride. The super dragon's scope of power clearly ranked among the highest, capable even of granting universe-level wishes. Now that your wish is granted, Axis, hurry back to your world and bring your father. Without the Grand Priest to manage things, your universe could run into trouble, Whis advised. Axis agreed. They lingered briefly. Then Vados escorted some of them back to Universe 6, while Whis guided the rest to Earth in Universe 7. On Earth, Kratos approached Axis. Didn't you go to fight Son Gohan? It's a clash between gods of destruction, Kratos said. I wanted to see it, though my previous scrap with Beerus wasn't serious. Same here. We plan to watch your match first, Son Gohan said. But you two can fight whenever you want. Gohan grinned. I've been itching for a real bout. Let's head north to the ice continent. Sparsely populated, plenty of room. Axis didn't want prying eyes while he made Dragon Balls. He'd been tied to Earth's dragon lore since childhood. He'd seen Earth's Dragon Balls, Namex, and the Super Dragon. Wishes were wishes. Kratos wanted to observe, but Axis told him it could wait. Kratos and Gohan took off toward the ice continent. Goku and Vegeta waved and left as well, uninterested in watching Axis create Dragon Balls. One by one, the others dispersed. Beerus and Whis returned to the God of Destruction planet. When everyone had gone, Axis found a secluded spot and produced the Wish Orb fragments. The first step in making Dragon Balls was choosing materials. Axis held 2 massive fragments. Together they were enough to make 7 Dragon Balls. Each would be larger than a person, more like a small house. Under his divine power, the fragments deformed and condensed, becoming 7 immense spheres. Next came the settings, the number of wishes, the divine dragon's appearance, binding rules, and other constraints. Axis decided his divine dragon would resemble Earth's Shenron in form, but with a golden hue like the super dragon. It would be a 5-clawed golden dragon, physically larger than a planet and second only to the super dragon. Crucially, it would be bound to him, not to a particular universe. The dragon would not scatter across realities. After granting a wish, the dragon would need time to recover, but Axis could expend his own divine power to restore it immediately. There would be no limit on the number of revivals the dragon could undergo. As Axis's divine power grew, so would the dragon's. He also set a safeguard. The dragon would not execute wishes that threatened Axis without his consent. Only with Axis's approval could someone use these Dragon Balls. He received one other piece of feedback from the dragon's future consciousness. Each wish generated negative energy proportional to the wish's scale and its disruption of reality. If negative energy accumulated past a threshold, an evil aspect of the divine dragon could be released. That evil dragon would not obey even its creator. The only way to prevent this was to cleanse the negative energy after a wish. If left to purify itself, the dragon would take about 100 years. Axis's direct assistance could speed the process considerably. Axis recognized the echo of Dragon Ball GT in this warning. Evil dragons were an unavoidable byproduct. Satisfied, Axis consecrated the dragon and named it Pangu, invoking Eastern mythic origins. The moment the name left his lips, 7 towering shafts of gold erupted from the Dragon Balls, stabbing through the sky and uniting into a singularity of light. The air trembled, and a roar like the birth of the universe shook everything. A golden divine dragon, larger than Earth, coalesced, majestic, sacred, and suffused with overwhelming divinity. The solar system bathed in its light. Earth glowed gold. For seasoned Earthlings, such spectacles were almost ordinary now. After all, the planet had suffered stranger phenomena before. "My creator, my master," the dragon intoned, lowering its colossal head toward Axis. "I am Pangu, divine dragon. Speak your wish. Whatever it is, I can grant it. You may now make 3 wishes." The dragon's power was immense. Anything Axis could do, Pangu could do. Anything Axis could not, Pangu could accomplish with ease.